It is a shame that Tamara is a predator because I actually think her and Benji's relationship's real cute.
They're kind of adorbs. They are.
I like that you almost spit out your water.
That's cute of you to think it's water.
Welcome, friends and listeners, to I Remember Everything, a podcast where we will discuss and connect the dots of Dawson's Creek, one spoiler-filled episode at a time. I am Olivia.
And I am Victoria. Join us week to week as we break down the show's overarching themes, characters' motives, and how it all fits together to create this timeless series. Plus, you'll hear our many, many thoughts on the lives of our favorite Cape Cityans and why it's not cool to ghost someone, but it's even less cool to litter. Because seriously, if you're not going to call someone back, at least have the decency to throw their number in the trash, not on the ground. So we're going to go into just a little bit of housekeeping here. The first thing is we realized after we recorded the entire episode that I had a bad internet connection because there was a blizzard going on. So the audio is a little bit different. It's going to sound a little bit off, and we're sorry for that, but it should not happen in the future. The other thing I want to say is that I want to apologize to our listener, Jennifer, because I forgot to shout her out last week. The morning our pilot dropped, when I woke up, Jennifer had already sent us an email saying how much she was loving the podcast and enjoying it. And it was such an amazing thing to wake up to because we were so nervous and so insecure about dropping it. And especially since I have had a lot of contact and interaction with Jennifer on Twitter over the past couple of years in the Dawson's Creek Twitter world. And so I already respect her thoughts and opinions. So to have that compliment come and to have it come from someone who I already know I really respect her opinions. So thank you, Jennifer, so much. And thank you for always chiming in on Twitter.
No, that was really nice. We really were like, oh my gosh, we're dropping it, freaking out. Yes. And we woke up to just the nicest email. And I was like, what?
This is like first thing in the morning.
And it just eased our hearts for the rest of the day. It really did, Jennifer.
Did.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for just continuing to interact with, us on Twitter and everything. So thank you.
And while we're saying thank you to Jennifer, we also want to say thank you to everyone else who's been interacting with us on social media and Discord. We have just had so much fun chatting with you guys and joking with you and talking about the episode and remembering things that we're like, why didn't we think of that during the episode? And in some of the Discord chats, we had new discoveries and thoughts of things that we asked in the podcast that we weren't able to answer. So hop on Discord and see what you missed. It's been really fun having everyone's opinions on character motivations, and it's great. Anyways,
because as we say, no matter how many times we think that everything has already been said about this show, somehow someone comes up with something new again, and we're seeing it already in the Discord group. So thank you to our current members.
Or things that we're like, we're going to get there. I promise.
Yes, we promise.
Or like, we already recorded that. Just wait. But truthfully, we're not very savvy with this stuff. This is all new to us. Social media is new to us. And so the fact that you guys are enjoying our content and having fun with us has been, I don't know, it's definitely eased our stress. We've been so stressed about it. Like, I don't know what we're doing.
No. We are flying by the seat of our pants, and just Olivia's whipping out these amazing social media things. I don't even know what she's going to do. And I see it. I'm just like laughing my ass off. So.
And my son did say my memes are old, so they're not hip and up to date. So
we are old. So
I was like, it's fine. Okay. They'll
It's fine.
appreciate it. Leave me alone.
they'll get it. They also are watching this 25-year-old show. Like, they know we're not hip and cool. I mean,
I do have to say, my 13-year-old, though, I was like, okay, I need a meme. This is what I'm envisioning. And he helped me like look through stuff.
Awesome.
He's like, would this work? I'm like, that's exactly it. So shout out to my 13-year-old for
yay.
helping to bounce ideas off of, because I was like, I'm stuck. I don't know.
Yes. And like we said, I think we've said it every episode. I guess this is only our third episode. We so wanted to be able to expand the Dawson's Creek community and the interaction, and having you guys interact with us on social media is what we were really hoping for, to have this level of extra discussion. So just thanks.
I know they're going to be like, okay, we get it. So
We're
much
like, no,
thanks. We love you so
like
much.
really, we cannot say thank you enough. Like, you have no idea. We're very needy.
Again, never speechless. We could just talk forever.
We can talk forever about how we have no words.
So why don't we move on to the episode, which is what they're desperately waiting for.
Right. I think that sounds like a fantastic idea.
All right. Today, we are diving into season 1, episode 3, Kiss, also known as Prelude to a Kiss, which originally aired on February 7th, 1998, was written by Rob Thomas and directed by Michael Toshiyuki Uno.
And I just want to throw out there then that this was written by Rob Thomas, who most people probably would realize was the creator and writer for Veronica Mars. So definitely a big name there.
Feel free to take a drink anytime you hear the word or phrase of the day. Today's word is
storyboard.
In this episode, as per Forever Dreaming transcripts, slightly revised by us, Dawson struggles to create the perfect setting for his first kiss with Jen. Joey argues that all the scheming and planning to make this moment ideal is proof that Dawson is living in a Hollywood dreamland. His weekend plans with Jen are foiled again, as he is enlisted to be the production assistant on a class film project and hopes to officially join Mr. Gold's film class. Dawson finally gets his romantic moment with Jen, who realizes at the last minute that everything is just a little too contrived. Meanwhile, Joey meets a handsome and wealthy boarding school student named Anderson Crawford, who is interested in Joey. I know, collective sighs.
Swoon.
Swoon, who is interested in Joey. Joey pretends to be someone she's not to impress him, jeopardizing her chances with him. Pacey continues to pursue his teacher, Tamara, who leans into the 15-year-old's flirting to satisfy her own needs over the safety and well-being of a child.
So let's go ahead and dive into the episode. The first scene starts, of course, in Dawson's bedroom with Dawson and Joey, where Dawson declares that his first kiss with Jen will be perfect and romantic. It just needs to be planned with the right lighting, music, and dialogue. Joey rolls her eyes and takes a jab at the unrealistic portrayal of romance in movies. Dawson holds firm to his belief that real life can be just as magical as the movies. Joey warns him that his belief in a fairy tale world will ultimately lead to his downfall. I'm excited about this episode. We have so much awesome Joey stuff. I think that we really see a different side of Joey. It's a big character development for her in this episode. And
Yes.
of course, there are some icky things in this episode too, but I'm excited about Joey in this episode. So
I know, she's so cute in this one. She's, I like it.
I've talked about that. The cold open is always the thesis for the episode. And this is basically a literal thesis for the episode, because they're watching from here to eternity and the two main characters making out in the sand. And we actually see that later in the episode, almost directly reenacted. So obviously we are setting this up that we're talking about romance versus storyboarding romance and what makes a good romantic kiss. And Joey and Dawson obviously have very different ideas of how that can happen.
And we go back to that spark thing. At this point, I still don't think she's completely into him.
Agreed.
Into Dawson. She really is encouraging and like, I'm just sick of hearing you not kiss her. Just kiss her already. Stop making it a big deal. But when they go into that conversation of Joey being a cynic, that conversation stands out to me. She's seen her parents who, as we know in the last episode, her dad cheated on her mom as long as she can remember. And the only examples she has of like real romance in her life are Bessie and Bodie, which we don't ever get to see.
Where's Bodie?
We love them, but we don't ever get to see that relationship. So we can't really explore that as much as we'd like. And the only other relationship we know is Mitch and Gail, which for Joey, she's just had that been shattered. So hearing Dawson talk in this like really romantic way and all these things, she's like, there's no romance anymore. It's all dead. Like her cynicism makes sense.
I think Joey's actually being more of the romantic in this scene because like we talked about Dawson wanting the mechanics of the kissing instead of talking about the feeling. He's talking about storyboarding and dialogue and creating his own script where Joey's saying, you just got to let it happen. You just have to let the feelings happen. So she actually is being the more romantic one. They are saying that she's a cynic, but if you're really looking at it,
is
she's
she really
kind of
that
being
cynical
more
about
romantic.
it?
Dawson's the one who's trying to manufacture romance.
I don't know if romantic's even the word, just realistic.
Because she is a cynic. And I do agree with that. When she says to Dawson, you used to be a cynic too. When? No, he has never been a cynic.
They've always said that he's always been the dreamer. And so it's like, where does that come from?
I think this is Joey's POV. And I think Joey is starting to see Dawson as unrealistic. She knows the reality. She knows the reality of her own life so far. She knows the reality of what's happening with Gail and Mitch. She is seeing this from a heightened perspective of Dawson being so romantic and so schmaltzy, where she is feeling even more cynical maybe than she used to because she just is witnessing Gail and Mitch fall apart. So I kind of saw it as maybe Joey taking a different look at Dawson than she has before, and kind of seeing him in a little bit different way.
Yeah, I could see that. And maybe part of it is this is Dawson moving on into a place she hasn't been yet. He's in this romantic place. He's fantasizing and planning it out. And she's still not there yet. She hasn't had anyone catch her eye romantically. We know she's kind of now considered like, well, who would I think of? We think that idea of Dawson is starting to like build a nest in her brain, but it's not fully formed yet. And so that's why I do love this episode. And I wish it would have continued more of her getting to finally have those experiences to drive her into relating to Dawson more. Like, I don't think she completely relates to him yet. And he's not wrong in saying, you know, like one day you'll understand.
In the last episode, we talked about it was Joey looking at Dawson and Jen dancing because she wanted that or she wanted someone. So I think that bouncing off of what you were saying is she's seeing Dawson going into this new romantic world and she's pushing back against it because she's maybe afraid because she's not experiencing those things. So I do think that she is starting to feel insecure in a friendship about Dawson moving on to something else and maybe having questions of why are my two best friends have these romantic things and it has never happened to her. There, as you said, a guy has never looked at her in that way. And that's why I love this episode, is because Joey gets some recognition for how awesome she is.
And from someone who doesn't know her, from an outside perspective. And when we get into her coming up with her trying to hide, right? Because she likes to hide behind walls and lie because it's easier than being honest and truthful. When she's carefree and doesn't have that judgment, who is Joey? Right? Like without this judgment that the town has put on her.
And I do think part of the reason too, I think that this is maybe Joey's point of view is look at her clothes in this cold open as opposed to what we've seen her in the previous two episodes. It's like a tank with just straps. I'm pretty sure this is our first Joey without a bra moment, which of course
There'll
we'll
be
see
a lot
more of. Yeah. She also has some skin showing on her stomach. So this is a much less tomboy look for her. And that continues throughout the episode. So I wonder if it's kind of her starting to embrace her femininity, wearing lipstick. And I think we really see her take that step in this episode. But even in this cold open, we're seeing some of that.
I argue that in season 1, we don't ever see her really be a tomboy. When I saw her in this outfit, it made me think of episode 1 when she borrows Bessie's clothes, that she's just, as she's maturing and her body's changing, she just starts borrowing her sister's clothes, which are more feminine, which, you know, and then there's that mix of femininity and maybe her old clothes. And there's such a story journey with her clothing that could be possible based on where she comes from, with financial reasons and borrowing.
And that makes sense that
like
she didn't suddenly go to her closet and have these clothes. When they're talking, she's literally calling Dawson out for his rejection of reality. I mean, she says, it's not reality, Dawson. And one thing he says is, they are images grounded in the reality of imagination. Have I ever heard such a contradictory thing in my goddamn life? Dawson, what the fuck are you talking about? And she says, just pull that out of your butt or what? Reality of imagination?
Anything.
That means nothing. He has such conviction when he says it. I mean, bless him in a way because he is so passionate about it. He so believes this. But also I want to shake him because I'm like, no, Dawson, no.
And then he's like, but now I choose magic. You've always choose magic. You said that from the beginning.
Yes. So I do feel like this is friendship. She's like, you haven't kissed her yet. There's no jealousy there. There's nothing. So I do not see a spark in this cold open at all.
No,
I think she's trying to be supportive.
I think so too. And I think this episode is really her getting to enjoy this journey on her own without anyone else. I really liked the lack of interaction between her and Dawson in this episode.
Yeah.
Can we just be glad for that? I also feel like the most meta moment in this whole thing is, you know, this Peter Pan fantasy film land you're living in will be your downfall. Is that not just everything with Dawson?
In the previous 2 episodes we've seen in these cold opens, Joey warning Dawson about his behavior and how it's going to come back and bite him in the ass. And he doesn't believe her. And it's happening again now, where she's like, if you do this, it's going to blow up in your face. And of course he's like, yeah, because Dawson's right about everything. Yeah. So it's like, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. This cold open is like hit you over the head with what's about to happen.
What I like about this cold open is because all this time it really has focused in on Dawson. And so I really love the twist that the writers did by letting Joey have this, that it's mostly about her and then Dawson setting himself up to fail because he isn't living in the moment. So it is a really great way to round it out. Do we want to move on to the next scene so we can get moving?
I so want to move on to the next scene. I'm super excited about it.
Let's go. Mr. Gold's film class, led by the lovable jock Cliff, is racking their brains to come up with a solution for their third act, a problem that really should have been figured out during their summer of writing. Nellie is quick to shoot down every idea, and despite his promise of not speaking during class, Dawson pipes up with an idea of how to make the film a motivational and emotional success. However, he is quickly dismissed by Nellie.
So first I have to say, my girl Nellie, again, head to toe lavender, but she's got those red shoes. And they're great
those are
shoes.
Fabulous shoes.
But why is she wearing those red shoes? Head to toe lavender look?
Well, her skirt, I'm pretty sure has like maroon in it.
Red. Okay.
And her shoes are like a maroon.
Okay.
So
we're not a fashion podcast.
Playing up with accents, but I know I actually really like her shoes.
Had to point that out. The other thing I really love is Dawson doesn't even have a fucking desk. Benji didn't even give him a desk.
He's like, sit in the back and be quiet.
Which obviously we see that change, but I love that. Benji was really trying to go hard on it, but of course Dawson just takes over. But
I have to give it to Mr. Gold. He is one of the only teachers you see who stands up to a student talking bad to another student and says, hey, let's be nice.
I think this is a Dawson point of view because everybody around him is stupid.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
rolling his eyes, bursts out, and of course cannot keep his fucking mouth shut. But also, he's kind of right.
He's got a
I mean,
point.
he's right that they don't know what they're doing and they have not good ideas. And
Yeah.
that Mr. Gold over at the end allow him to be in it is because Mr. Gold's like, I told you to shut up, but also,
Yeah.
right.
Am I wrong that Dawson literally just explained Varsity Blues? Like he's talking about this football.
I'm not going
and
to say you're wrong.
because he's like, this film needs an underdog, not a golden boy. Like he needs to overcome internal conflict. Because he's got to prove himself that he wins, that he cares. It's like that's literally Varsity Blues.
It is literally Varsity Blues, but like he said, it is also literally every kind of movie like this. Rocky, The Karate Kid.
Yeah,
He is
it
100% that if you're going to make a movie like this is what you need to be
Yeah.
doing. So this
It is the formula. He's not
Yeah.
wrong.
and we talked about Dawson and his passion versus privileged white man. I can say whatever I want. It's
Yeah.
a little bit of both here again, but I think it's funny because we heard him talk about how pissed he was that this movie was going to be in his festival and how shitty it was, but he's helping them.
Yeah.
Because I think he can't help himself. I do think his passion is so overwhelming that he's like, I cannot shut up and let them make a terrible movie. Even though it's going to compete more with his movie, he's still speaking up. I mean, if he was really an asshole, he would be, I mean, okay, I'm not going to say he's not really an asshole, but he would be more of an asshole if he was
he'd be like, I'm just
"I
going to
know
watch
how
this fail.
I know how to fix this and I'm going to watch them go down in flames." He actually speaks up and tries to make the movie better. And I think
Yeah.
it's just because he can't stop himself, but how down he was on them in the previous episode, I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and maybe he also realizes he could worm his way into the class maybe a little more. So
I was trying to do a woohoo good for
I
you,
know you
Dawson.
were. We love you, Dawson. You're the
We
best,
love you,
Dawson.
Dawson.
Love you, Dawson.
I had one last thing. I literally love that it ends with Nellie just dagger eyes towards Dawson and Cliff like shaking his head like there's a good point. Like Cliff is such a good guy.
I love Cliff.
He doesn't deserve a bad rap.
No,
I
that's
know
why
everyone says he's boring, but I still like him.
Well, he's a little boring. He's very endearing, and I would rather have
Yes.
Cliff boring than fucking Dawson.
Yeah, no, for reals. I can make
Oh.
someone more fun. Like you're
We
willing
can
to
make
go
it-
on adventures? Sure.
We can make it happen.
We can make it work. Cliff,
Can
call
make
me
it
up.
work. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next scene.
Yeah.
Pacey goes to Tamara's classroom to retrieve his failing test. Tamara doesn't sugarcoat the fact that Pacey is not only failing her class, but all of his other classes. Pacey claims on purpose in an effort to turn his academic struggles into an opportunity for private tutoring sessions with Ms. Jacobs. Although Tamara tells him they can't interact in an inappropriate way, she, of course, relents and tells him to come back to her classroom at around 6 p.m. And Pacey leaves dancing on his toes, humming to himself, delighted.
Oh my gosh.
Ding, ding, ding.
I cannot wait till we're done talking about Pacey tomorrow because
I know.
we're so passionate about defending Pacey that we just go on these tirades and they're
and it
so
brings
well
us
deserved.
down.
Yes, okay. I'm bringing up his hair again because
It's
I am
really bad in this episode.
It
isn't
is so bad in this episode.
It looks like
a
fucking
helmet. So bad. And I remember this interview with Joshua Jackson. I'm going to see if I can find it about his grandma saw
Hated his hair.
season 1 and was like, what did they do to your hair? No compliments about the show, just like your hair was terrible. And
Well, and that's such a grandma thing that she'd be like, you have these beautiful curls. What did they do? And it's like, well, the show creator said I was just too goddamn
What are you going to do, Grandma? What are you going to do? I just
you
love
gonna
this
do,
idea
Grandma?
of his Irish grandma being like, your hair was terrible.
I
Get
know,
it together.
I know. And it is especially bad in this
It's
episode
real
for
bad.
some reason.
They wanted him to be an in-betweener. They didn't want him to look cool. They wanted him to be more nerdy than, I think, in a way, Dawson in some regards. And still, his personality still shines through, despite him looking terrible. I can't help it. I just love it.
When she's like, do you know anything about Ethan Frome? And he does a little, he had a farming on that farm.
Yeah.
Pacey reacting with humor in an uncomfortable situation. And when she says that about him failing all the classes, we've talked about Joshua Jackson kind of having a moment where you see him react and
his
feel
real
bad,
reaction before
and
he
then
masks
mask
it.
and you see it where his face is kind of saying one thing and his eyes are saying something else, and you see it in that moment. I have a question for you.
It might be a question I had for you. Let's find out. This is so
I'm
fun.
sure
I
probably
love
is.
that we think too much alike sometimes.
I know. Well, we did just say the same word. Is he failing all of his classes on purpose?
That was my question. I am not even kidding you. We think too much alike. Yeah, I had that same question too, because do we take Pacey's word? Is this a conscious choice, or is he just using this as an excuse to go, oh, well, maybe this will push me further into it? Because he doesn't want to look like a loser in her eyes. This is the first person that's shown interest and hasn't considered him a loser. And so it is very probable that he is just covering, because he just doesn't want her to see him in that same light that everybody else does.
That's what I think. I think that he could possibly be Mara's class on purpose. I'm not sure. I don't think he's failing the other classes on purpose. We know this is a pattern for Pacey with academic. He does not do well. I think that when she says that, and as I said, you see that initial reaction that he feels bad, that she thinks he's dumb. And so his reaction is to cover and to say, oh, no, I'm doing that on purpose. And then to put it into this thing of, I'm doing it on purpose so I can get closer to you. So I don't think he's failing all of the classes on purpose. Is he maybe failing this one on purpose? Possibly. But if he is failing it on purpose, then we again have Pacey as the planner, as the researcher, as the what can I do to get closer to this woman? So I kind of like that idea because it fits the things we've said about him just for this class, though.
It's an interesting concept of Pacey and his academic. Like, we know he's smart. He proves he's smart. He proves he can do the research. And I know a lot of people have thrown the idea of like, is he like ADHD or something, or like struggles with some kind of like possibly dyslexia, or a lot of topics like that, which are not signs of being unintelligent. They're just, I have all this knowledge and I don't have the skills to put that knowledge into action. Or unless you care about it, because you have to that motivation has to be something that you care about, because he's proven when he cares about something, he goes all fucking in. He goes all in, gives it all of his effort, and is so smart. And it's like, holy fuck, kid.
Also, he doesn't have home life where his parents are paying attention to his grades, really. They're not
or if they are
him.
There's no, if they are, it's only negative.
So it makes sense in that regard. What I think is also really gross is Tamara's actually being a good teacher here. She's pulling in and saying, I know you're actually smart. I don't understand why you're not doing well here. Olivia's going to burst because she has her hand up.
Yes. Pacey says, I noticed you didn't hand me back my test. Does that mean you need to see me after class? In front of the class, she left no way of, Pacey, I need to see you after class. She did not invite him to class, but she kept his paper, leading it to there is no accountability that she is requesting him to come to her class. She doesn't tell him to come.
But she knows he will because he didn't get his fucking test back.
Exactly.
But you're right. In public, it's not there. Ooh,
yes.
Look at
and
you.
So it's again him taking this initiative and flirting with her, but she plants these opportunities.
Yes.
that she will not get caught. This is why it's like, I don't think this is unintentional. No, there's intentionality. There is grooming. And I think that's a really big giveaway. I'm reading into the words too much, but I don't fucking care. I want Tamara to burn, and I want the proof to burn her.
In hell. And you know what? Reading too much into the words is what we exactly set out to do in this podcast.
We did plan to do that.
Speaking of reading into words, I am going to put a
Ding, ding, ding.
Pacey says, I need a slave driver, somebody with a whip.
Mm-hmm.
Not good language. Obviously, we all know why. We're not going to focus on it, but had to put a problematic ding in there.
One last thing, him exiting and humming. There is a lot of humming and singing that they have Joshua Jackson do in these first 2 seasons. And I immediately think of the Christy Livingston terrible poem reading. But he's like humming when he goes out.
Did you see the clip of Joshua Jackson for his new Audible book
singing terribly off key?
Every little thing she does is magic. Every little thing just turns me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love keeps. Whoops, shit.
I thought it was so cute.
It is like the greatest thing ever. It's so fantastic.
Because
he's like dancing.
I know.
And the director's like, no notes, keep going. And he's like,
I know, he's so physically in it, because when you do voiceover, you have to be physical, and it's so cute watching him. I could just watch him record his parts. I don't need to see the whole show.
Other than the fact that Tamara is a pedophile, is there anything else about this scene that you wanted to bring up?
It's just the change in Tamara. She has put off this like very warm feeling in all of her discussion. She's very like smiley, and thus also pushes that flirting with it. But the second she turns away and says, meet me here after school, 6 p.m., there's a complete different tonal shift. She's not even looking in his eyes. She's turned completely away from him. It's a really weird shift as she relents to having him come back. It makes me feel like she made a decision. Like there was a conscious decision in that moment.
Let's hold on to that, because I think we're going to come back to it in a scene later on where I have some notes on it. So we're going to bookmark that, baby.
Perfect. All right, moving on. At the ice house, Bessie is resting as she complains about being uncomfortable and pregnant. Both Bodhi and Joey tease her about how big she is. Joey goes outside to the ice house patio and takes the order of Dawson and Pacey. Dawson's got his sights set on filming a kiss-worthy shot at the ruins to win over Jen. While Pacey asks for some advice on how to woo his vaguely explained hot date, Joey's quick wit and teasing nature is in full swing as she catches the eye of a handsome customer. Pacey's quick to tease her for finally noticing the opposite sex, but warns Joey that waitresses don't typically catch the eye of a fancy yacht-dwelling hottie.
I love this scene. It is awesome friendship. We see the 3 of them interact. Again, we see the dynamics of Pacey and Joey bantering and bickering, and Dawson just kind of ignoring it and blowing past it. When Dawson starts talking about taking Jen to the ruins, Joey does not discourage him. All she says is don't get caught. She doesn't say don't go there. She just says don't get caught. She is completely being a supportive friend.
Yeah, this whole scene is friendship. I always watch this. I'm like, we never get to see their friendship. And it's like, no, actually, episode 2, we saw their friendship. This moment here, we're seeing just friendship. And it's like, these are the moments we love and we wish we had more of. Yeah. Because you're seeing their dynamics. The funniest part to me is when Pacey is asking advice to Dawson about like, what's hot? And like Joey keeps throwing in these one-liners and Pacey completely ignores her until he elbows her of like, go get me some oysters. And then she has the biggest smile on her face.
It's so funny too. Cute. When she's like, what lucky farm animal? Because I think about in the all-nighter when they're doing the sex quiz and he's like, why do I get all the questions about the animals?
That's a good throwback. I like.
You see the dynamic that her barbs bounce off of him.
Yeah.
And Dawson
Because they're
does
meant
not react
as
to them.
jokes. Yeah.
Yep,
They don't
exactly.
even.
This is not Pacey Witter punishment watch.
No.
This is just the two of them and how, because he gives her right back. That guy breaking your fucking neck.
Yeah.
It's
I think
just how
part
they
of it,
relate.
it's not as so personal. Like we felt in Kiss, a lot of those conversations, like we were nailing in the fact that Pacey has hurt her over and over and over again, so she doesn't want to kiss him. And it's not playful jabs because it's consistent and he knows that's how she actually feels. So it hurts more. This is her being silly and joking. And yeah, you're right. When he grabs her neck and like tries to embarrass her, that is such a friend thing to do. Of like, hey, over here, come look, she's got your eye. Like
shit out of her. And this
so
is a reminder too that this is Joey's first experience into this new kind of world. This is the first time her friends have ever seen her express some sort of interest in a guy. They have not seen this. So as we go through it in this episode, to remember these are Joey's first experiences with a real crush. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I love this episode, is seeing her getting to go through those things.
You have Pacey, who's actually kind of in a way encouraging, like, look, you've got a crush. That's exciting. Hey, I'm going to embarrass you. And then you have Dawson, who's like, what? Wait, who's this guy? What's going on? Like
So,
his face.
We talked about sparks for Joey. Is this a little bit of a spark for Dawson? Because he looks very unsettled at the idea of Joey being interested in a guy.
And it's very reminiscent of how Joey reacted in episode 1, which we'll get to. Bookmark that when we get to that scene.
Joey says, forget Wonder Bra for a moment, referring to Jen, which not awesome. Don't you have to work on your own movie? She's not worried about him spending time with Jen. She's trying to encourage him. Dawson, you need to work on your movie. So again, you see that's not really about Jen. It's about his movie. And again, Dawson with the bullshit words, romance can be created. Mechanics of kissing. Storyboard your kiss. Dawson, shut up.
It doesn't work that way. This makes me think of the first scene. Joey mentions like, it's take 22. She's got sand in her crotch. They're exhausted. Like when you try to plan it out, there is no romance.
Yep. Dawson wants an intimacy coordinator who could show him how to do this right. And that's basically what he does in this episode with Jen. And you're right. But Dawson does not see that because this is him scripting his life again, you know?
Yeah. Yep. All right. I think, I just want to talk about the scene because it's so cute, but we need to move on. So let's move on.
It's adorbs. Okay. Dawson is doing his PA work for Helmets of Glory. Shocked to see Jen in a cheerleader uniform, especially since she's supposed to be in his movie. Jen is swept away by Cliff, but as Cliff sweeps her way, he mistakenly refers to Dawson as David, but Jen does quickly correct him. This is a Dawson point of view.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that Cliff was trying to be a dick by calling him David. Do you think he called him David on purpose?
I go back
I see that
and
as Dawson's
forth.
interpretation.
It could be Dawson's. No, I actually love the idea that it could be Dawson's interpretation. I think that's a great, possibly. And, I do think Cliff could be above. He's better than Dawson and not as petty. So I could see him not doing it. But also, Dawson was a huge dick at the dance. Their last interaction was the dance. Yes. And then Dawson interrupts during the class, and he knows his name is Dawson in the class. So there could be a little. Is
it just that because Dawson is so uncool, he's just not on Cliff's radar?
Yes, like he honestly just doesn't care enough about Dawson. Even after that interaction to register his name as something important to hold on to or catalog in his own mind. He's just like, oh, it's that kid again.
We've got to do a
ding, ding, ding.
When Dawson asks Jen about getting the part, he references whether or not there was a couch involved. Obviously referring to casting couches and all of that gross stuff that happens.
It's like, why do you have to say that? There was
no
reason for that.
Because it was not problematic then. That was just something people said. Now with Me Too and everything we've learned, it's taken on a whole different meaning. I mean, not that it wasn't a big deal, but
yeah, it was problematic then. it was more of a joke, but it was definitely problematic.
I will say that
we should take action against it.
I didn't even, when I first watched this, that comment went right over my head. I
Did
don't
it?
know. I mean, as someone who's not involved in that industry, I don't know
Mm.
that I even knew what a casting couch was.
Mm.
So,
And then maybe that's just from me, who's been doing acting for a really long
Mhm.
time. In our get to know you, I mentioned my husband and I do film, and the way that we met was me auditioning for a film he was making, which we ended up not making actually. But when I say I met my husband auditioning for a film, the first joke I get was, "What kind of film?" Every time, even to this day, I get that joke, which is so funny because I have only been a lead in one of his films in the whole 18 and a half years of our marriage, because I'm very big on, like, I want to audition and be the right person for a character. I refuse to just be cast because I'm a spouse. Like, as an actor, to be insinuated the only reason you got a part was because you slept with someone is really insulting. And so, like, maybe it triggers more with me because that is something I've had to deal with, or jokes I've had to deal with. So I'm always like, no, it's always been problematic. I've never liked there's no reason.
No, I can
make
see
it a
from
big
your
deal.
personal experience, it would be even more. But like I said, at the time, it went right over my head. I don't think I really registered things about casting couches until, Me Too. Dawson is very annoyed. You're supposed to be in my movie. And what I wrote down was, can't she do both?
Yeah, I know.
Can I have both?
Can I have both?
Can I have both?
Why does Dawson insist on trying to limit people's experiences?
Because
Let
he's
them
a dick.
live their life.
He's a dick.
Wait, we're trying
I
to
know we said we were
trying to
gonna
give
give him
Dawson space. No, we're so bad at it.
Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just can't.
Some
Oh,
days we
God.
just hate Dawson. I blame the fact that we watched a rewatch last night on
We did.
Discord, and
There's
we're
a lot
all
of Dawson hate.
Dawson. We can't help it.
Wow. Okay. Not really much else about that scene.
All right. Moving on to we have a commercial break after that scene, and we go into oh gosh, I just realized this is another Pacey tomorrow.
I know.
Scene.
I just
okay. We can't keep doing this to our hearts. DC writers, you're ruining our lives. I cannot. Okay. Instead of reading Ethan from, Pacey takes advantage of his one-on-one time with Tamara to get to know her and her past. He asks if she would have dated him in high school and is clearly disappointed by her answer that she wouldn't have. To placate his ego, she tells him she's smarter now and proceeds to manipulate him into refocusing on his work by offering, quote unquote, positive reinforcement. Gross.
Ding, ding, ding.
drop in my mouth.
Just a little bit.
So-
No, not a little bit. Full on
A lot.
run to the bathroom. Okay.
He's supposed to be reading, and instead he says, "What were you in high school?" So
Mhm.
again, Pacey does not just want sex from Tamara. He really
No.
truly believes this is a relationship and wants it to be a relationship. He
Yes.
wants to know more. It's so sad. The look on his face, like when she says, "Well, why?" And he's like, "No reason." Like he just wants to know her.
I know.
Ah!
It's so disappointing. This episode, especially when you have the juxtaposition of Joey and Dawson getting to have these experiences with someone
Mhm.
their own age, and then to see Pacey being put into the situation that is way too mature for him, that he is not able to handle, is heartbreaking. We talked about in episode 1 all of these really innocent moments being stolen away from Pacey. It's heartbreaking that this is his
And-
first experience, especially because he is at his core a romantic.
He really is.
Wants to know and love someone, and he wants to be loved in return.
When he says, "Would you have dated me?" She's like, "Pacey, we're in school. We're not alone. There are people in this building." So she's not saying no. She's
Mhm.
just saying, "Not here,
Yep.
not now," which we
Yep.
have seen from Tamara. She does not say no. So she's not discouraging him. She's inviting him. Don't call me Tamara in school. So you can call me Tamara out of school. Don't say this here, but you can say it in private. She's again encouraging that, which leads to his confusion of, what can I say when, who am I where, all
Yeah.
of that.
And then for her to say, I'm smarter now. Like, she's
Confusing.
like, yeah, I wouldn't have dated you in high school. And he's like, but I'm smarter now. I date you now. Like, that is what she's
but
saying.
At least I was until a few weeks ago. So she even
Yeah.
contradicts herself. And here's another
Yes.
moment of Tamara having a little bit of self-awareness, but then backtracking on that self-awareness and immediately going into, I'll give you some positive reinforcement. Like,
Yes.
you know what he's thinking. He's not going to get a gold star in his fucking worksheet tomorrow. We all know he thinks you're going to pull your tits out. So
Yeah.
don't be surprised when maybe he doesn't think a attaboy is enough.
Yeah. And what do you think their last interaction was? The last interaction we see is them kissing on the dock. Do you think they've met other times outside of school at this point? So
think
if
it's
it is
just
just
that
that kiss, and we don't know how physical it got because it blacked away, but it looked real physical. It could have,
Let's just
who
say
knows
his
if it was like,
hands were a going.
yes. And we'll move into that later.
Yep.
Let's move on. Frickin' Tamara, we hate you. Move on.
Yes, you're the worst. As Joey is hauling out the trash at the ice house, she's entranced by the sound of a violin wafting in from the dock. She heads to check it out and spots the mysterious yacht guy from earlier, Anderson Crawford. Joey plays off Anderson's assumptions that she comes from money and decides to channel her inner socialite, introducing herself as Deborah Carson.
You know, like a liar.
The two flirt, and Anderson invites Joey to go sailing with him.
She deserves this moment so much. She
I
deserved to have more
love-
of these moments.
I love this scene, even though Joey
She lies.
Yeah. When she comes down to the dock, she is 100% her authentic Joey self.
Yeah.
She's throwing out barbs. She's
She's
being
sassy.
sassy. You know, when he says, and people find this charming, she's like, I don't know. I never asked. He's into her as
For
her
sure.
authentic self, but she can't trust that. Also, because Pacey just put in her head,
Yes.
guys off yachts don't go for waitresses. So when
And-
he assumes she comes from money, she leans into that. And I
Yeah.
get why.
I know some
also-
people get really mad about Pacey for doing that, but the town they live in, they have wealthy people coming into that town.
A lot of
all the
class
time.
issues.
There's a lot of
issues.
class issues. And I don't think he does that to be a dick because it doesn't come off malicious. He's
No.
just like, hey, they don't fall for waitresses. Like, I think he's just
Well,
trying to soften the fall. I think
think
he's worried.
That's
She's in
just how he sees himself as well.
true.
He's not part of the upper crust life either. It's like, Joey, you know, you and I are in this class and
Mhm.
we don't belong in that class. And that's not going to happen.
So there was something in one of the previous scenes I wanted to bring up and I didn't. If you notice, a lot of the times when they're sitting at the table, Joey and Pacey sit next to each other with Dawson at the point. They're looking at Dawson. Joey and Pacey are next to each other. They're on equal ground. Their attention is put to Dawson. There's always this kind of pyramid between the three of them. And that also goes with socioeconomic. Pacey and Joey are more equal. I love the point you bring that he is kind of talking about himself, but I do think his warning isn't coming from a place of douchiness. It is
Agreed.
coming from him being like, I don't want you to get your hopes up. Like he sees that
Well-
she's interested in a guy and he goes, whoa, that's a guy from money. Just, he
Yeah.
doesn't
And I
fall
don't
for
know
us.
if it's even so much like I'm worried about her, but just,
No,
Joey, you know this. Like, you know,
Yes.
this is our life.
it's a friend moment, not a
Yes.
dick moment
I
based
agree.
on the character. Because him and Joey live in the real world. And he's going, oh, look, you like this guy. Hey, but also remember, we live in the real world and that's not going to work
Right.
for us. Like, and I
Exactly.
don't think it's mean. But with this idea, the triangle, it's
triangle.
already established.
They're a
There's always a
triangle.
hierarchy of Dawson is the priority and the point, and they are
is
just
creepy.
extensions. The first thing he does is he assumes she comes from money.
Mhm.
And then not only does he assume she comes from money, but then he mentions her parents. All of a sudden, here's this guy that doesn't know who she is. He's obviously interested in her, likes her personality. And she's like, if I'm honest, I now have to say, I'm none of the things you think I am. I don't have parents, so I can't talk about my parents. I don't have money, so I can't bring that up. And it's easier to go, maybe I can just pretend for a minute I'm just me.
This is the first time she's able to hide those things about herself. Everybody knows those things about her already. So it defines her in ways that she can't define herself. This is an opportunity for her to show just her authentic self, which is the problem in this episode of Joey is her authentic self, but giving off some, lies about who she is. In the pilot, when Dawson says, you looked pretty with that lipstick on, but then I moved past that and I ignored it. So this is probably the first time that she's had this positive feedback from a guy. So
who's
she wants
obviously into her.
Yes. So she wants to do whatever she can to help move it along. And I get it. I mean, yeah, Joey, you're a liar, but I understand why she does it.
Yeah. I feel a lot of Joey's lies, as much as you hate him, you can really break down her thought pattern of why she's lying.
We talk about Dawson with his honesty.
Yes.
And where the motivations are, and Dawson insisting on honesty regardless of people's feelings. And I think that a lot of times Joey's lies come from a place to protect someone, protecting Dawson about
or herself
in this instance. There is a difference in why they both lie, I think.
Yes, they both struggle with honesty, and they both struggle with being honest with themselves. And I think Anderson is the cutest. Like, gosh, why couldn't we have had him for more than one episode?
I know. But you know what? That wasn't the story that they wanted to tell. They set out to tell the story about Dawson and Joey.
Ding, ding, ding.
With Pacey's nose finally buried in his book, he's able to answer Miss Jacobs' quiz questions. She then pushes him to answer more difficult questions, with him needing to cite the text. This is just her being a good teacher, but then ruining it by saying, I'll give you something after.
I said the same thing. Actually being a good teacher.
But it's like a good teacher, but a terrible teacher.
Well, that's Cape Side teachers.
Oh,
although usually not to the level of pedophilia.
Yeah.
All right. So the next scene, Dawson is in the locker room with the Helmets of Glory crew, but it is clear he is not a fan of the script. He starts muttering some snide under his breath. Nellie overhears, and her rage goes supernova as she goes off on Dawson, shutting down filming and humiliating him in front of everyone, including Jen.
Okay, I have a couple of thoughts on this scene.
Yeah.
The first time we see Nellie is in screenplay with Dawson and Pacey.
Yep.
And she attacks Pacey and is grateful for Dawson. There's not animosity between her and Dawson. Then they switch Nellie's anger into Dawson. I get her understanding. You didn't earn your place here. And
not really about him personally.
No, she's just feeling like, how dare you worm your way in here? I've wondered if she's a junior or a senior. She's older. We know that.
She has to be older to be in the film class.
Was she one of those people that had to wait to get in that class? Like, or is it just the fact that she's like, I cannot stand that you worked the system, you piece of shit.
I don't think it's even so much about working the system. She says, we've worked all summer on this.
Yeah.
And you're coming in here and giving us shit.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. And I actually kind of am on Nellie's side a little bit.
Oh, no,
here.
I am too.
I mean,
not to the amount that she explodes on him. But
he is muttering under his breath. And then she calls him out and says, you disrupted filming. Actually, Nellie, you're the one who disrupted filming. I get why you did it, but he was not disrupting filming. I mean, we know they worked on this all summer.
Yeah.
She's the producer. She's working her ass off. And then Dawson, this sophomore, comes in and is like, this is shit. I don't blame her for being pissed.
Yeah.
Like, whether or not you like it, Dawson, this is the movie.
If he was in Nellie's shoes, Dawson would be pissed that in came someone he doesn't know, talking crap about his show and
Which
his
I think
motivations.
Is valid.
Like
I think anyone would feel that way of someone just walking in and all this hard work you've put in, just shitting on it. I do feel a little bad for Dawson just because you see the look on Jen's face and Dawson's face of how humiliated he is.
I do think that Dawson needed a little bit of humble pie in this. I don't think Nellie handled it the best way. I can
Agreed.
understand her anger, but we really don't see people call Dawson out much. And
No.
one of our problems with the show is he doesn't get called out for his shitty behavior. And when he does, he doesn't change it.
Fitch and Gail have problems with discipline and
Mhm.
with pointing out his shitty behaviors. And that's one of the reasons why we talk about Dawson as a flawed individual. People don't really call him out on his bullshit. And
Mhm.
so how does he know how to change if no one's telling him to change?
Yeah. Often
know?
he gets rewarded for his bad behavior.
Just like in Mr. Gold's class.
Exactly. Like he wasn't even supposed to be in that class. And then now
Mhm.
he's a PA on it. And now, like he's moving his way up. And it's one of the reasons why it's really hard to connect with him as a character when, for the most part, he lives such a charmed life that it's hard to feel bad for him.
We know his parents are having problems in the relationship.
Yes.
He doesn't know. There's
Mhm.
nothing bad going on in Dawson's life right now, but he's so dramatic.
You're so dramatic.
All right. The next scene. Pacey surprises Tamara with his thoughtful answer as the evening sets in, and she's clearly impressed. But when he asks for his reward, Tamara tries to stall while Pacey moves to make physical contact, reminding her that they're alone in the classroom. Tamara is quick to call his bluff by suggesting they get busy on her desk,
Ding, ding, ding.
which totally catches Pacey off guard. The conversation gets increasingly awkward as Tamara jokes if this is his first time. Pacey, embarrassed and vulnerable, admits that it is. In a moment of what you would hope is clarity, Tamara tells him to go find someone his own age, but Pacey insists that sometimes it's right to do the wrong thing, a sentiment that does not work in this particular situation. Ugh.
I think this is a Tamara point of view because it is very reminiscent to when he approaches her in the classroom. He is being the instigator. He's putting his hands on her. She's trying to push him away, and she reacts in a way of denial. But the first thing, she has her feet up on her fucking desk.
Yep, crossed with a skirt on. There is no way he cannot see up her skirt because he is standing and she's got her legs up on her desk. And it's like, please.
She says, you got me, Pacey. I never expected you to get this far. So first of all, that sucks. So did you actually think that he was an idiot?
Ouch.
Right.
Also, if you watch when she says that, she takes both her hands and kind of gestures down towards her vajayjay.
I swear, there are so many, she does so many sexual physical movements.
And then when
any word she says is sexualized by her way she presents them and the way she moves her body.
I think that of all the horrible, terrible things that happen in the Pacey Tamara storyline, I think that maybe him pulling away and saying,
You know that it is.
maybe the worst. It's just
This
so bad.
This moment.
And I know we said that we were exhausted in talking about this.
No,
but
we're
this
not.
scene this scene, we brushed
It
back through
kills
them. This one is
me.
so bad. And
Oh.
he says it's okay, Tamara, because now he's moving towards her. He's trying to introduce that intimacy. He says it's okay, Tamara. And she says, no, it's not, Pacey. Not here, not now. This is my place of employment. So again, not saying no, just saying not here.
Yeah. The motivation thing, like she's created this game of back and forth and the reinforcement and not reinforcement. Well, it is a game in his head and he feels like it's a little give and take. And so he's like, I'll initiate this time, like going for her waist. And this is the first time, though, that he's initiated really the intimate physical part. She turns into a panic at that moment. Like he's initiating it. And it's like, why would you think he wouldn't? You've initiated it now 2 times outside of the classroom. You've made this game that I'll give you some positive reinforcements. And then she says, well, I don't actually have positive reinforcements. And this is like a ping pong. He feels this
it's like
is
that
flirting.
banter thing that he's used. Yeah, flirting. That's exactly
and so
what he
he's
thinks
just
it is.
like, well, then we can make this intimate. And then she's like, boom, there's a switch. And he's like, what? Hold on.
When she's like, we don't have much time, you better drop him. Pacey's defense mechanism kicks in and he tries to cover it with humor. He's like, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. You're trying to bluff. But I have a question. I don't think he wanted sex here. I think he just wanted to make out with her.
That's what I'm saying. When I was mentioning how many times do you think they've been together? If it was the last doc and all they did was make out, he was like, I just want to make out with this chick. I want to get to know her. And she's the one who escalates it to like, all right, let's have sex.
I do not think that he is looking for sex in this moment at all. And I think that's part of what throws him off so much.
Yes.
He was not expecting this escalation to her talking about sex. All he wanted to do was make out with her.
Yeah, he is not ready for sex in this moment. He is a 15-year-old boy who has a crush, who's been encouraged into this crush, who's only made out with her and wants to continue doing that. And she escalates it to sex.
Because he does want the romance. He says this isn't the most romantic place on earth. And we know Pacey is a romantic. He does not want his first time to just be a fuck him and leave him situation. He wants to get to know her. He wants the romance, which is why at the end of this episode, it is romantic to him.
When she starts unbuttoning her shirt,
he turns away.
Yes, he's so uncomfortable because this is, if he was this horny kid that just wanted sex, he'd be like, let's do it. All right, sure. I've got a condom. I'm okay if it's in the classroom. Let's do it. No, that's not what he wants.
So again,
that's not what he's after.
The sex crazed Pacey the show was trying to sell us is not there.
The thing that kills me is she's grabbing his shirt. You don't see it in screen, but you can see his shirt being pulled to the side. And then when she's like, what, is this your first time? He pushes her hand off of his shirt, looks away, he's like,
you know that it is.
The vulnerability and insecurity that Joshua Jackson puts into this moment is the most heart-wrenching, which is why when they end in sex at this episode, I want to die. He deserves so much better for his first sexual experience to not be perverted this way. I cannot.
Yeah. This is why I say it's from Tamara's point of view, because she describes herself as an insane middle-aged woman, like an unstable wet rag. He would not describe her that way. Again, we have Tamara having this moment of self-awareness and pushing him away, but it's that thing of the show's trying to sell us of star-crossed lovers. They're meant to be, but they can't. It's all of that still here of the show, still trying to sell us on it, even after we just saw that heart-wrenching moment of him saying, you know it is.
That is not just the sign of his maturity level too. Like,
and the
fact that
level
he's flirting in a classroom and she's going, do you not see this as wrong? No, he doesn't.
And the maturity level saying, I'm a firm believer that sometimes it's right to do the wrong thing. That's such a teenage thing to say.
Yeah. And I don't know that I hate that sentiment, because it is something Pacey lives by. Like when it comes to Peterson, that's what he does. It is a motto that Pacey lives in his life. He finds himself in situations. It is like, I have to do the wrong thing because I know it's morally right. And so I hate that they use it in this scene, because this will always be wrong. Always.
Yes. He says, you keep saying how this is wrong, and maybe tonight it is. So again, he was not looking for the sex tonight.
No, he wasn't.
And when he leaves and he looks back at her and he says good night and he starts to walk away and he calls her Tammy. So now we have another heightened level of intimacy that he has gone to, because she has invited intimacy by pulling him in, by suggesting sex. So now he feels the invitation.
It's an offer now. It is on the table. It never was on the table before. He had joked about with Dawson, like, oh, I could lose my virginity in a high whatever fashion. But the truth is, that's the only time sex is really brought up about Tamara. It really isn't until this moment that it goes, this is a possibility that this might actually
I
happen.
think he really believed it. And partly he didn't really believe it because she's been fucking with his mind so much.
Yes.
And pushing away and pulling back and all of that. But the way he says goodnight, Tammy, and you see that level of intimacy push up for him because again, he wants the romance. He wants the intimacy. He doesn't just want the physical part of it. And for him to just, I know I keep harping on the names, but it is important. Writers make choices like this for a reason. There is a reason why he sometimes calls her Miss Jacobs versus Tamara. And now pushing it up to Tammy is the writer showing us that the intimacy level between these two people has now raised up another level.
It's shifted. There's a shift when she mentions let's have sex. This is such a manipulative, gaslighty move on her part of like, yeah, let's do it. Come on, you're right. I'm going to give in to you. And she knows he's going to say no. And I don't think she was expecting the heartbreak in his face.
Right. That's what
I think that's what sets her off. I think she was like, I'll call his bluff. He'll push back. We can have this go a little more. She has categorized him herself as a certain person, as this is someone I could take advantage of. Great. This is someone who is attractive, who I can do this with. But I don't think she realized who he really is until that moment. And the fact that it still doesn't stop her kills me even more.
We've seen Pacey in this episode trying to get to know Tamara better because he doesn't want just sex.
Yeah.
And I think that in this scene, Tamara sees Pacey as a real person.
Yeah.
And she sees that vulnerability where maybe I don't think she was seeing that before. And I think she's catching feelings more than she was. It's becoming not about just a physical attraction for her. She's starting to have feelings and it's freaking her out even more, as well it should.
Yes.
Again, she does not react to it in the right way.
No. In episode 1, she responds to him being that like angry, calling him out. And then in episode 2, he shows that vulnerability. And I think there was some recognition there because then he takes on that responsibility of like, it wasn't just you. And I think in her mind, she's like, oh, great. Now I definitely will get protected, right? That's a concern. She's like, I need someone to be locked and synced in who's not going to rat me out.
I don't know if she's even thinking that far ahead.
No,
I think you're giving
I think
her
you're right,
too
but
much
I think
credit.
that's a
I
subconscious.
think you're giving her too much credit that she's thinking that far ahead. I think she's just thinking, I have this sexual attraction to this boy. I think we see her feel at times that she can't fight it. And we see her at times realize how wrong it is, but not being able to fight it, which is what the writers want us to see.
Right. I don't know, but with her seeing that vulnerability in the last episode and our discussion of her using that, I think there is a level of manipulation there, whether she's conscious of it or not.
I think that's the question is whether
it's subconscious or not. These things are piling up, helping support her justification and her realization she could get away with it. So
I don't know.
Do I think she thinks it actively? Maybe not, but it's like, well, maybe. Like,
I guess where I'm coming from is I don't think Tamara is a professional pedophile. I think she's an amateur.
Okay. Yeah. This could be maybe her first experience or second. Who knows? I like to just want to villainize her. All I want to do is villainize her.
Well, she's fucking evil. Don't get me wrong.
I agree. Okay. Moving on. Gosh.
I know.
It really is the most intimate thing that he says to her is Tammy in that moment. And she knows she's fucking with him at that point. Like she knows
the words mattered. As someone who loves the English language and loves writing, loves reading, I don't think that people realize how important those word choices are sometimes. When he calls her Tammy is really so vital to how this quote unquote relationship is progressing. And they both feel it in that moment. They both know that is taking it to another level. Joey joins Anderson on his yacht for their sailing trip. They talk about their background and Joey tells some white lies, but has clearly charmed Anderson. First of all, Joey is dressed up. She's got earrings on. Her hair is up. She's wearing lipstick. Joey taking this step further, past the tomboy into this new realm of emotion, puberty, adolescence that she is wanting to have. Her clothes, she's wearing the little halter top. Again, we're seeing some stomach. She probably doesn't have a bra on. We're seeing this femininity that Joey sometimes struggles with. I love, love, love when she walks up and he tells her she looks amazing.
Yeah.
Look on her face is so sweet because no boy has ever said something like that to her, not in this way. And you see her feel it and be so flattered and feeling this desire to want to lean into this idea of a boy girl romantic thing.
Yeah.
When they're talking about boarding school, and he says it's more the boarding part seems kind of unnatural. Taken away from your family when you're 12, separated from your family just doesn't seem fair. Joey was separated from her family when she was 12 or 13 in a very different way. And she says, I keep thinking I'll get used to it, but I never do. I think she's thinking about it in a very different way.
He mentions the education, like Joey knows she's lost her family at that age anyways. What she wouldn't do to just be away, start anew, and get a good education. Like what would be a nightmare to most, it would be everything she wanted because she's already lost her family in her mind.
Going away
like
to
even
school
though she's got
somewhere,
Bessie.
it's not the same.
So the idea of going to some other school where no one knows you, you focus on academics, no other kid has their parents around, so they don't have to worry about that comparison. That to her is a dream.
Yeah.
And I get his perspective too. What's great too is you get this perspective from a wealthy person talking to what he assumes is another wealthy person. And so these things that one person would be like, oh my gosh, if only, and the other person going, oh my gosh, if only I could just be with my family and not have to be taken away. And it's always grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
We get this distinction here with Anderson and Joey, and then we get it in Beauty Contest with Hannah and Pacey having their conversation too. I like when they have these moments of the different classes having these honest conversations. And I feel like they could have had more of those, but they didn't. All right, move on with their date. Yay, date.
It's so cute. Anderson and Joey take a break from sailing to play frisbee on the beach. As they toss the disc back and forth, Anderson tries to get to know Joey, asking if she has a boyfriend. He notes that she gives off a hands-off vibe and suggests that honesty in a relationship is always the best policy. First, the little montage of them on the boat is super adorbs. Anderson asks her if she has a boyfriend, and he says it's the way she carries herself. You're really hands off. You see this look on Joey's face. I think it's this moment of recognition of here's someone who doesn't really know me and sees that I'm giving off this vibe that's pushing people away that I don't think she ever realized that she was doing. And again, it's Anderson seeing this authentic side of herself, the true Joey that she wants to hide and pull back. So I think that kind of gives her a perspective on herself where sometimes a stranger can be the kind of person who points something out to you because they don't know you as well.
Yeah, I like that. In the past, I've read into, well, that's because she's interested in Dawson, but I don't think it has anything to do with Dawson. I think she doesn't let people in. She's not good at making new friends. She's put up these walls. She has her defenses. She's so afraid of being judged that she just doesn't want people to see her and risk them. And
I know that we have leaned into this theory of that Joey does not know she's into Dawson, but really, truly in this episode, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
They are off doing their own thing. She's clearly into Anderson. I think is a self-realization.
I think this is a really good growing moment for Joey, and it leads to her learning things about herself. I just wish the writers could have capitalized on this and like had these moments show a stronger journey in Joey. So,
well, yeah. And speaking of that journey, as he says,
truth can't hurt you. It's a lies that can.
Yeah.
And Ms. Josephine Potter, you do not learn that lesson
for a long time.
early in the series, we're setting
Yes.
things up for later on. This is part of Joey's personality that, yes, we understand why she leaned into lying. It comes from a different place, but she leans into lying because it's easier.
That really
We
is
see
the
it.
downfall of multiple relationships with
Yeah.
her,
Yeah,
is her
we see it.
inability to be honest with herself and others.
And I think it's
this
more with herself than with others
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
times.
This is the one way that I feel like I relate with Joey the most. Like, I'm like, okay, you're right. And I don't want to cause confrontation, and which I don't think I realized how much I did it. And this leads back to like fan fiction
Mhm.
of reading into these thoughts of like how Joey lies and why she lies, and going, should I do that? Like, I knew I did. Like, coming up in the home I grew up with, you lied to get by. You didn't want people knowing about what was going on in your home. I didn't want my parents to get upset about things they didn't need to be upset about or cause more drama. So it's just easier to like, nope, I've got it taken care of.
And I think that's part of what we were talking about, trauma and parentification, and how people seem to be old souls, taking on those responsibilities and just even that knowledge upon themselves and not wanting to share it with other people because they don't want to burden other people because they've learned to take the burden on themselves.
Yeah. As the cameraman struggles to film the first shot on the football field for Helmets of Glory, Dawson tries to give some helpful suggestions, but Nellie is having none of it and sends him off on a fool's errand. Nellie calls him Doggy Dawson.
Yeah.
And tells him to play fetch. And I think it would have been really interesting if maybe she had called him Oompa Loompa, or used Doggy Dawson as like an insult later on. That really would have built up episode 7 detention. If we could have seen that this is something that's kind of stuck with him, this would have been a good opportunity to set that people still look at him one way. And build that insecurity for Dawson, so that when he gets upset at Pacey, we have a little bit more to go off on, and even to get on Dawson's side a little bit. This really could have built up Dawson's insecurities, but it's a missed opportunity in my mind.
Again, we have Dawson cannot help him when it comes to this passion of trying to make the film the best that it can be. You know, he hates this movie. He doesn't want it in his film festival, but he's still trying to help him, you know? It's kind of weird.
Well, he's just a man of knowledge, and he's like, no, this is right. I want to be right. I know the right way. I know the right way. And this just moves into Dawson then runs into Jen, who reveals that she only did the movie to spend time with him. They set up plans to capture the magic hour shot after filming, which Dawson is hoping will be less of a disaster than the film they are currently working on. Dawson judges people a lot and makes a lot of mean comments. He likes to throw in jabs.
And I think that is Dawson's honesty again. I think he struggles with tact, and you don't always have to be honest, Dawson. You know, sometimes you can just shut your fucking mouth and not say anything.
They have Jen being charmed by him, and anybody that he feels threatened by, he has insulted in front of Jen. In that first episode, there was some quarterback and he made that terrible joke. And then in episode 2 with Cliff, he has to comment on Cliff and how dumb he is. And now we're like, you know, he's a great quarterback, terrible director. He has to put those things in because he's got to try to prove he's better. Because he doesn't trust that he's better on his own.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And Dawson in general reacts with jealousy and anger when he doesn't get what he wants. He goes towards putting other people down because maybe at the heart of it, maybe he's not quite as secure as we think he is.
All right, let's move on.
All right, we're back to the beach, baby.
Beach, baby. This scene makes me laugh every time.
Oh, yeah. Anderson discusses his theories on the JFK assassination on his date, which is totally normal. Joey makes a joke about her UFO theories, threatening to destroy his sand model of Dallas that he had made. This then leads to a romantic engagement on the sand as Anderson's in for a kiss. But Joey turns away from the prospect of a kiss And Anderson doesn't press the issue, but he is skeptical when Joey says she has to leave. Joey tells him that while she had fun, he needs to know the truth, that she is not Cinderella.
She's literally the definition of Cinderella. The clock's gonna strike midnight and she goes back to who she was in the beginning, which is poor and nobody, like a worker.
Yes.
She's playing dress up.
She is Cinderella.
Yeah, she's at the ball on her adventure. The second she gets back home, she's back to reality and she's not who she's proclaiming to be. But it's so silly that that's what the reference they use.
We see here an aspect of Joey's character that she's interested in people that she feels know more about the world than she does. Anderson seems so smart. He read the Warren Commission, which is also weird, but she does call him out for being weird. We see this life of boarding school and intelligence. It's what she wants. And we see that when he says, so you think everyone on the Warren Commission lied? And her response is, I'm just saying Kevin Costner was really convincing in JFK. So her response is
to bring it back to movies.
Movies.
Because that's what she knows with Dawson. And that's what she's seen.
That's her basis of knowledge.
I love that point. She does like people who are smart. She loves people who are passionate. She likes people who find who they are and goes after it. Because she doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know what she wants to do in her life.
I don't think it's so much Anderson here, but maybe later on other people, that it's not even the person, but the idea of who she thinks she wants to be with. This really smart boarding school, Ivy League, into literature, whatever kind of person. That's the kind of person she wants because she thinks that it is an upper class, that's how she gets out of her world.
Yeah.
That's something she doesn't experience right now. So I think that this is the first time we see that with her, but it is definitely something we see more. Why does she not kiss him, Olivia? It's not because of Dawson.
I think it was exactly like that movie and she felt it and knew it and said, whoa, I just said these aren't real moments and this is real life right now. I think it really scared her and shocked her. And she felt really, I don't know how to handle this moment. Yeah.
I think that she was scared and she kind of saw all this romantic stuff coming at her. And again, this is her first experience with this kind of thing. And she just wasn't ready in that moment. And I really love that Anderson does not push her. Like he kind of says, oh, are you just trying to get this out of the kiss? But he does not push for the kiss.
No.
He's just like, okay, let's go. And he continues to be interested in her, even though she did not kiss him. And oh, Anderson,
why can't we have more of this of like, I'm respecting you and I don't have consent. I respect you, but I'm still
fucking 90s, Olivia. The time that the show was airing, it's super problematic because this is what they were putting out to largely their audience of teen girls of this is how it should be. But now we can look at it and say, okay, this is the example of what it shouldn't be. And we can learn the lessons from it. It just sucks. It has to happen in retrospect.
That's how we should look at these older shows instead of like demonizing them and be like, shoot, look how far we've come. And this is a reminder of why this is so terrible. And that's how it should be, is as a lesson.
This is a lesson in how it should be. Joey has a great experience in this episode. What a great first date. What a great first kiss. I love this episode for her.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move on.
At the football field, the tension is high as Helmets of Glory still cannot capture Cliff's vision for his tracking shot. But with Dawson's guidance and Pacey's assistance, they finally nail the shot. The whole crew cheers for saving the shot. Dawson gets all the hero praise.
Redemption of Dawson Leary.
Gosh. Yes, which is
he
like...
He deserves it. You know what?
He
deserves that redemption. He did save the day.
He did.
So one thing I have to say, so many people give shit for why is Pacey in a wheelchair. There is a reason.
Yes, there is.
Talk about that there is a major injury in the football field. The wheelchair is there as a prop.
It's a prop.
I hear so many people say, why is there a wheelchair there?
They're filming a movie.
No, it's not. It actually makes sense.
And it's actually funny that he steals the prop and takes it inside the school.
I swear to God, part of me wanted to do a podcast just so I could tell the internet world that there is a reason why Pacey's in a wheelchair here.
It's not that random. I had the exact same thought when I watched it the first time. I was like, oh, look, he's messing around with a prop.
There is a reason why there's a wheelchair there. Is it weird that Pacey's in it? Not really, because
No.
he's a 15-year-old boy. And we know Pacey is bunny class clown guy.
Yeah.
Right? So of course
Yeah.
he's going to tool around in the wheelchair. But
Yeah.
he does when he rolls up and Nellie's like, oh, your loser friend is here.
Ouch.
And he like
Oh.
gives a little wave to her. Like, fuck you, Nellie. I mean, yes, redemption of Dawson, but he deserves it. But again, he's helping this movie that he wants to fail. I don't
know.
get it.
He wants to get in the class. This is his way to get into Mr. Gold's class
You're right.
officially. So
You're
he
right.
has a selfish motivation. It is not
Okay.
just selfless. It
Thank
really
you,
is.
because I did not understand because it felt selfless. And I thought to myself, well, that's not Dawson Leary. That makes no sense at all. So when you frame it as a selfish motivation,
that
now
makes
I'm
sense.
on board.
I do give you that he deserves the redemption. But again, everything works out for Dawson, so it's hard to cheer for it. But it's cool. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. We love you,
Yeah.
Dawson.
Love you, Dawson.
Moving on.
Okay.
At the ice house, Dawson and Jen are puzzled, always cheerful demeanor. Bessie lectures Joey about being late and needing to be a better team player. As Anderson enters in an effort not to be caught in her lie, Joey quickly joins her friends at the counter. As Anderson continues into the ice house and saunters in, he greets Joey as Deborah, and Dawson just stares blankly. Jen, on the other hand, is quick to cover for Joey's lie and plays along with the charade. Bodhi swoops in, helping out Joey, and her secret stays safe a little longer. Jen
Rock
is
star.
women
Gosh.
loving women.
More friendship. Okay, friendship in general, specifically female friendship. Okay, this moment is so fun. I love that we get to see Joey happy. I love that there's no jealousy or animosity towards Jen and Dawson.
Yep.
They're there and he's like, oh, great, you guys are here. Awesome. What do you want? How can I help you? Here's a great recommendation for a sauce.
She's like, oh, yeah, you guys are catching magic hour, right? Okay, that's cool. No jealousy.
Yeah.
Again, there is
And
no
she
thought
knows
of
the
Dawson.
plan is for him
Yes.
to kiss her.
Yes, she does not
in-
care.
She doesn't care. She's
doesn't
so
care.
happy.
She
No
does
jealousy.
not care at all. Joey is so embarrassed when Anderson walks up.
Mhm.
She does not know how to handle the situation because she's embarrassed. You know, like
Yeah.
this cute boy's coming up and paying her attention. She's never had that situation before.
And she's in
And-
an added lie.
Jen immediately is on top of it. So here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
Is this another spark moment for Dawson? I think it is.
I think so, because this is when he says the exact same line that Joey says when Jen arrives in episode 1. He introduced himself and Anderson's like, oh, I'm Anderson. Deborah and I went sailing today. And Dawson goes, oh, and Jen goes, ah. And then Dawson says, would you like to join us, Deb's friend who we've never met ever? That is
And
the
Joey says, and we've never met ever.
Yes, he mimics pretty much the same line that Joey says when Jen is introduced. It's very telling because he is like, why are you lying? Why are you doing this? Who are you? Because Joey's never been in a situation like this.
Right.
And
right.
so he's thrown off by that. And then she's lying and he's like, what? Huh?
But again,
Like, he's so dumb.
Dawson's inability to like read the room. You fucking
Yes.
asshole. Immediately, Jen's just like, oh, she's just Deb. Like, clearly she's lying.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's calling her a different name. And Dawson, just shut the fuck up. And I love when they both fucking kick his
Kick it.
like,
And his socks that are like rolled down to his
Oh.
ankles. So bad.
teamwork makes the dream work.
That's our motto. We know that
I
for sure. Oh gosh, freaking Bessie. Bessie needs to get a clue too. But how lucky it is that Joey's name is a boy's name. I think Anderson doesn't even clock it because
That's true.
he's talking to a girl, Deb. Like, unless you're introduced to someone with a boy name that is a girl,
Right.
you're gonna assume that Joey
You're right.
is
He's
for a
not
guy.
going to assume that. So that makes the lie
So
fall.
the whole time that
through
Bessie's
easier.
saying Joey, he's not even phased because he has no idea. And it's Joey who's like her eyes, like, oh my gosh,
and
stop
bless
it.
Bodhi. Bless Bodhi.
I know. Why?
Oh,
Bodhi is so good. We get in both of the shots with Bessie and Bodhi, we see Bodhi working in the kitchen and we go, great. Bodhi's in the kitchen. He's a chef. Great. You've established he cooks and then he disappears and it is not fair.
Where's Bodhi?
Because we deserve these moments where Bodhi has Joey's back.
and
where
Bessie deserves
and-
these moments.
Exactly. Like where they're teasing and bouncing off each other. And
This family that is this
Yes.
non-traditional family that is actually a more secure kind of family unit than the Learys are right now, actually.
yeah, I don't think they show Bessie and Bodhi because I think they felt they couldn't have healthy relationships. They just want to show drama. And if you're focusing on just drama and not healthy relationships, why write in Bessie and Bodhi? We get these small moments of positivity, but if they put them in more, they would have made more tension. In one hand, I want more scenes, but in the other hand, if they had given them more scenes, they would have probably made Bessie and Bodhi fighting and break up because everyone has to have drama. It's
right.
just
And that's the thing is I think the show sometimes misses that balance that yes, it's a TV show. We need drama.
Mhm.
We need all that kind of stuff. We need that balance between you can have all this drama going on, but then give
Mhm.
us a breath of relief that
Mhm.
this is a good, stable couple. You don't have to
Yeah.
have everyone involved in drama. Have that balance in the writing. You want to have all this chaos going on, but then give the viewer a breath of relief of, okay, this feels secure. This is okay,
Mhm.
and yeah, oh, Bodhi deserved better.
Yeah, he really did.
But
But yeah, Dawson's left looking shocked. And I think that it could have been a spark moment for him too. So I think his is so much slower than Joey's. We know it is.
Yes, it is.
But it is that you're showing attention to someone in a way I've never seen because she is so happy and flirty and cute. There's also like, you can't deny the change because when Jen says, oh my gosh, what's gotten into Joey? He is just as flummoxed.
We talked about with Joey and whether it was jealousy of Jen, that it was just, this is my best friend showing interest in someone else. And am I going to lose them? And especially Dawson, who's used to having what he wants and seeing Joey, he wants to move on, but he doesn't want Joey to move on.
We're led to believe that Joey was probably a happier child. And then everything that happened made her a little more cynical and maybe more bitter. I don't believe that she was always angry. I think maybe she had a temper in general, but I think her life made her shut off and become more cynical. He gets to see Joey happy. He probably sees Joey the happiest, but it's usually still with a cynical spin. This is the first time maybe he's in years that he's seen her positive and happy and offering
also
suggestions and being kind to Jen and smiley and looking beautiful and glowing. And it's like,
And
whoa,
also,
who are you?
I think it's new for him for someone else to be giving Joey happiness. I'm sure there have been moments when Joey's happy hanging out with Dawson, but Dawson's seeing that Joey is being happy with someone else
that isn't him.
That isn't him. Just like we
Yeah.
talked about Joey wanting that masturbation conversation because she wanted something to prove to her that their relationship was still special.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the same thing for him.
Yeah. I just have to say real quick, good guy Anderson as well, when all that stuff's going on and it's obvious there's something going on with Dawson and there's something he's not getting, he gives them the benefit of the doubt that I must have come right in the middle of something. I think he knows what's up. And I think it's like,
He's already got the inkling.
Yes, but
He knows something's going on, but he likes Joey.
Yeah.
So he's not going to read into it.
Yeah.
He's rejecting reality, Olivia.
Oh no, but at least he's cuter.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right. Moving on. Pacey rolls around in the prop wheelchair in the school hallway. He spots Tamara and Mr. Gold discussing the movie The Way We Were. Pacey confronts Tamara on the stairwell, but as she turns to leave, Pacey's vulnerability breaks through his jealousy as he declares he just wants her.
Ding, ding, ding.
I have defended the wheelchair. The wheelchair belongs in the previous scene. However, why is Pacey the wheelchair now? I get he's a 15-year-old and he wants to tool around in it. He could have just been walking down the hall.
No, he stole it for sure. I cannot express to you enough. We were filming in this warehouse and we had a wheelchair in the warehouse. My 15-year-old was on that wheelchair for about 2.5 hours.
So we will continue to defend the wheelchair and Pacey in the wheelchair. This podcast is taking a hard stand.
Hard stand.
We are pro wheelchair
and 15-year-old behaviors.
Come at us about it. We're ready.
It is a shame that Tamara is a predator because I actually think her and Benji's relationship's real cute.
They're kind of adorbs. They are.
I like that you almost spit out your water.
That's cute of you to think it's water. I think this is a Tamara point of view.
Okay.
Pacey is being very immature. He's being aggressive. When she walks out into the hall and he's sitting in his wheelchair and he says, "Hello, Tamara." He's not feeling connected to her right now. He's using it to remind her of their intimacy because he thinks she's pulling away. So he's using it to try to draw her back.
Like we're on first name basis, Tamara.
Yes, exactly. Again, she says Mr. Gold is right around the corner. So again, just not here. And the reason this is Tamara's point of view is because Pacey is a dick again.
Yeah.
I know what you do with your students. So I guess he's in for one heck of a ride. He is the aggressor. He is pushing. Yeah. She's saying, no, I can't. And the show fucking selling it because who wouldn't want someone when you say, what do you want? For them to say,
you. I want you.
And it's horrifying that's happening in this situation. But if that was anyone else, that is such a romantic scene. Again, she has this self-awareness that she's like trying to pull away. In this scene, I think they were trying to make Tamara more sympathetic because they did not want us to see her as a pedophile. They wanted us to see this as a real relationship. So this is one of the scenes where they're making her sympathetic and Pacey the aggressor and showing, see, she's trying to fight these feelings, but just she can't because he's so romantic when he says, I just want you, which makes me want to vomit.
Again, explaining, not excusing. We know that Tamara comes from an abusive relationship. Here's this boy who's saying the only thing I want and the reason I'm jealous is because I just want you. For a woman who just went through a abusive marriage, who's on her own, who is already infatuated with this kid for whatever reason, being an adult, and him constantly showing his vulnerability. Like at first she kisses him because he's a man, because he shows that aggression. And we think that's might be related to her past relationship. But since then, episode 2 and in the scenes earlier, and now in this scene, he isn't showing as much aggression, but that his true self is this vulnerable self.
Well, I think it's a mix because here we have him being a dick.
He's both. Yeah.
I think that that's what gets her is that mix of that hard, strong, kind being mean to her, but then also the vulnerability because in this scene, he has both. I mean, that's a pretty shitty line, Pace.
It is warranted though, because.
But if you're actually interested in being in a relationship with this person, not the best thing to say.
No,
like I would say that to her.
It's a little.
He's confused. He rolls up in his prop wheelchair. He's being very handsy with Benji. Again, he doesn't know what the fuck is going on because of all the mixed signals. So I understand with his maturity level too.
He wants clarification.
Lashing out, and lashing out, and kind of wanting to hurt her. And also, he has known that lashing out sometimes pulls her in.
Yeah. And I think Pacey's also saying the words he wants. Pacey sees Tamara flirting with Mr. Gold. And we know it's not flirting, but in his mind, that's straight up flirting. Yeah. And he's saying, I thought she wanted me. And so when she goes to leave, he's saying the thing he wants. I want you to want me like I want you.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. It's so sad. All he wants is to be loved. And I just
want to give him a hug. Pacey, it's okay. You're the best.
poor
We
thing.
all love you,
poor
Pacey.
thing. But what is the weirdest part for me is we go from this sincere, enduring vulnerability that Pacey has to the escalation of them just having sex immediately after this.
That's all it took for her.
That's all it took for her to take
validation.
away the virginity of a boy she knows has never had sex, who just showed that he is not ready to have sex. And she goes, he wants me done. I don't care about him in this moment. She's focusing only on herself.
It's about her validation. In the previous scene, Pacey, well, we argued that he did not want to have, and obviously we know at the end he does. And I think it is about the romance for him. And how dare she take that?
He is swept up in it and he doesn't see anything wrong with it because she's leading the charge at that point. This whole time, he wants her to want him like he wants her. And he wants the romance in the relationship. She's just using him for her own validation, but he's so desperate for that attention that he's going, okay, that must be normal. He has nothing to gauge it off of. He just knows, yep, she actually does want me now. That's all he registers.
So there must be something there, something real there as well.
Yes. The fact that she's having sex with me means she wants me, means I am wanted. And that is all Pacey wants.
Dawson and Jen sneak into the ruins, a private property, to find the perfect filming location. Dawson goes all out with curtains and music for Jen's scene and manages to capture it all in one perfect shot. Just as they are about to kiss, Jen catches Dawson filming them and shuts down the would-be romantic moment.
Okay.
So the beginning, when they're walking through and he's explaining what the place is, she says, that is so romantic. And he goes, yeah, his plan is working.
Yeah. He's like, validation.
When he is filming Jen and he gives her the direction of it's longing, it's sadness. And you see, I mean, Michelle Williams obviously is an amazing actress. That look on Jen's face. And then she says, sadness is my specialty. Where do you think she went in her mind?
Oh gosh, she has so many sad moments. I feel like she has to choose from.
I know. That's what I'm saying. When she says sadness is my specialty.
I know.
I guess it doesn't matter the exact thing, but I just
no.
We know that it probably is very easy for Jen to portray sadness because she has been through so much fucking shit already.
Yeah. Longing is one of the words that he mentions. So the longing, I think she's longing to be loved, to be accepted. Like if we were going to go into it, longing to be wanted. But the difference is she doesn't want to be wanted sexually. She wants to be wanted for who she is. And it's very possible the word longing, I think, could bring up a lot of those emotions for Jen.
And maybe longing for this innocent teenage experience that she has been trying to achieve since the pilot episode with holding hands and not wanting the kiss, but wanting the dance.
Yeah, not wanting to rush into the kiss. She's wanting to take her time and moments.
He does effectively storyboard this kiss. The only reason it falls apart is because she kisses him. He accomplished the goal he wanted to.
Yeah.
It's also disgusting.
Yes. This is just a behind the scenes as a filmmaker. I don't care how good someone's acting is. You never get one shot. You need multiple angles, Dawson. You need multiple takes because what if your tape is damaged? What if there's a fleck of dust or a bug? You can't just take one cut. It drives me crazy.
Of course he can. He's Dawson. He's Dawson Leary. So they do go in for the kiss. He says, it's a shame to waste all of this. And he moves in slowly. It is a romantic moment. Like I said, he achieves his goal that he has storyboarded this correctly to manipulate Jen into a situation where the atmosphere and the environment and everything makes her want to kiss him. And she's into it and she's ready to kiss him until obviously she sees the camera rolling.
Yeah. And what sucks too is like, is this really the kiss Dawson wants? As an actual teenage boy, not Dawson in his brain, but like as an actual teenage boy, like he's manufactured it so much that
I think
there's
it is.
no anticipation. There's no nothing.
But that's not Dawson. Just like talking about the mechanics of kissing
Mhm.
with Mitch. And you said Mitch is the one who puts romance and chemistry into that dialogue, not Dawson.
Yeah.
Dawson wants the kiss. And he
Mhm.
wants it according to these perfect circumstances with this perfect girl.
Yeah.
I don't think that it bothers him that he manufactured it. I honestly don't. I think that's what the whole conversation was in the cold open. And maybe part of it is that he feels insecure with Jen because she is so beautiful. Maybe he feels like he has to manufacture it. Maybe
Mhm.
he thinks she would not want to kiss him without all of this. But I think he's fine with it.
He's convinced himself already that because she hasn't kissed him yet, there's a reason why. Maybe in his mind, it hasn't been romantic enough to kiss, because every time he's brought up kissing, she's like, I'm not ready yet.
Both of those were spontaneous moments and it didn't happen. And so he
Yes.
feels like he has to create this perfect atmosphere.
You
I
know,
think he's okay with that.
yeah, I think you're right. He is okay
I don't
with
think
it.
he sees it as manipulative.
This is him shooting his shot where he feels he has
Yeah.
less chance of being rejected again.
Yes, I think it comes from a place of insecurity, actually.
Yeah.
I really do. He himself is not enough to make Jen want to kiss him because that hasn't worked so far. So he
Mhm.
needs to have this perfect lighting and music and everything on top of it. I think it does come from a place of insecurity.
Yeah. And what sucks is he's making this kiss between Jen and him about him. He's not factoring in
Shocking.
Jen. I know. He's not
Shocking.
factoring Jen into this equation at all. The fact that she says,
Nope.
I don't want to kiss because of this, which she says in episode 2. She gives her reasons why, like, I was on a path and I'm afraid if I kiss, I'm going to go down that path. And he still won't accept that it's not about him. So he's like, okay, nope, I don't care what reasoning. I don't believe that that's her reasoning.
I don't think it's that he doesn't believe that it's not her reasoning. I think that he doesn't want to acknowledge that because that would make him do a deeper dive into emotional things that maybe he's rejecting the reality of.
Yeah. And
I
he's
think
15.
he's just
I don't
like,
think he's
yeah, and
equipped to
he's
handle what
15.
Jen's gone
Yeah.
through.
No,
He has
Jen's
no
not equipped to handle what
He
Jen's
isn't.
gone
He
through.
doesn't. Even if she was to explain them, he would not understand it because he's incapable, because his life has no reference. It has no context
And
for
he
what
has
she's gone
problems
through.
with empathy.
Yes, yes. All right,
Okay.
let's move on. Joey pays Anderson a visit on his fancy yacht where he reveals that he will be leaving tomorrow. He says he would love to visit her in New York. Joey tries to avoid the invitation, but unintentionally lets it slip that she may not be who she's implied she is. Despite all of this, Anderson still gives her his number and they share a sweet kiss.
Anderson. See,
This
is what
scene
I'm
is so
saying.
sweet.
He liked the authentic Joey.
Yeah.
He knows she's lying.
Yeah.
He still gives her his number. He still wants to hang out with her or pursue something because he saw the authentic Joey underneath.
Yeah.
You know, he
The
was
sweet
into
Joey,
it.
like the
Yeah, he
fun,
was
playful.
into it.
And the fact that he says honesty is really important, but he knows she's lying. He knows it. And he's still willing to give his number says a lot.
And I think that she's too insecure to
Yes.
believe that he could still continue to like her, knowing the truth. Even though he does give her the number, I think she just thinks, no, he can't really like the real me.
Yeah. Well, this is her first instance of anyone just straight up liking her. While I think she was her genuine self, I think she's confused on who her genuine self is.
Which is Joey for the entire series.
Yes. She equates herself to that angry Joey too, and doesn't see that this is more true to who she is. This
I think that's one of the
Joey.
reasons why it's really beautiful that she's free from all of those things.
Mhm.
She's free from the Joey that everybody knows coming from a small town. The person you are when you're 5 is the person you are when you graduate high school.
Yeah.
Because that's all anybody knows. You don't get to change your personality, or if you try, it's really fucking hard.
Yeah.
So I think it's letting the side of herself out that she feels like she can't because she's pigeonholed into who she is. And I
Yeah.
feel like she doesn't think that he would be able to accept the real her.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this kiss.
Okay. I read an article that this was Katie Holmes' like first
I have read that as well.
kiss. I don't know if it's just her on-screen kiss or real kiss, but
it was her real
still.
kiss.
Oh my gosh.
We talk about how much we love Pacey and his physicality and when he kisses
Mhm.
people. Anderson
Yes!
puts his hands
Yes!
in her hair. He tucks
tucks her
hair behind her ears. And he does not have the same hands, but he does cup her face in
It's
his
still really
hands.
sweet. It's romantic as fuck.
So sweet. It's so romantic. It's just enough tongue. It's just enough. All of it. That's why I love this episode, because what a perfect kiss in so many ways for Joey. I know it's
perfect
complicated.
first kiss.
Yes, I know it's complicated because she's lied and everything, but a nice guy who likes her and is
For her.
respectful of her, does not push her when she didn't want to kiss before, that is reading the signals and leans in and gives her this very sweet first kiss. It's a great
so
kiss.
sweet. And it
It's a
is
great
so
kiss.
physically like gentle, intimate for them barely knowing each other. They finish kissing and their heads are still
The
like
forehead lean. I
together.
put that too. They
Forehead
did
lean.
the forehead lean. I'm sorry, I got really excited.
Forehead lean is
I'm
so
sorry.
sweet.
I got
It
really
creates
excited.
this
Yes.
sense of intimacy. And
Yes.
it's like you barely know him, and look how cute, like
Look how sweet
the
he
comfortability. I'm so mad she doesn't call him back. I'm so mad.
I know.
I'm so mad.
Oh my God. It is so great.
And she walks away. He knows he'll never see her again. The look on his face, he was like, that was it. I don't get
because
this
she
anymore.
says, you stay here in the moonlight. It's where you
Yes,
belong, which
she
is
does.
such a cheesy line. But when she says it, you see it on his face that he's like, okay,
That's
it's
it.
not going to go any further.
Yeah, and I think he's so sad about it.
I think he is too. Oh, Anderson, we hardly knew ye.
And Joey is not one for romantic lines a lot. She does not get tons of romantic lines. She mimics romantic things she's seen and heard. And this feels like a line from a movie she's seen. Like, doesn't it? I almost had this Hollywood kiss that I wasn't ready for. But here I am having this moment. I just had my first kiss. It was almost perfect. It felt like a movie. And I think she felt she had to cap it with maybe a quote she heard in a movie. But
Oh, no, I like that. And along with the lie, maybe she's also afraid of ruining this really wonderful moment of if we continue to get to know each other, maybe he won't like me. Maybe he'll get to know me better and think I'm a bitch, think I'm this. And just keeping it in this perfect little moment in the moonlight, she doesn't have to face any of that. She can keep this perfect memory with her, which honestly,
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that 100%. Like, and you can't blame her for that. With all of the stuff that she's been through in her life, so many things that should be great have turned out crap. So many moments that could have been good. And we see it throughout the whole series. There's always this potential, and it's always left with these tainted. I said tainted again. Damn it. See, I'm catching myself.
Olivia, you said taints. That is my first sexual reference of the entire episode. You did very well. You said nailed it a couple of times and I let it go.
I just realized I'm not allowed to say the word taint with you without you bringing it up. So I have to
We both have our roles in this podcast. Okay.
I didn't realize I said taint as much as I do. Apparently it's a lot. It's every episode so far.
Every time.
No, but there's so many memories that she has that gets ruined. Look at almost every single dance she goes to. In future episodes is ruined by a bad memory. Most of the time, her memories have been, I can't say it without being tainted by these other bad moments that they stand out. And I love the idea. She's like, I need to just put this in in
In
a
a bubble.
box, and this will always be a perfect moment, and you cannot
Mm.
blame her for that. And I actually, in a way, it is a little perfect. It
Yeah.
is a little perfect, and I'll give that
It
to
is.
her.
It is. You did also say box.
Ah, God damn it.
No, you're absolutely right. Also, we talked about how Pacey couldn't tell anyone about his first kiss. Joey doesn't tell anyone
No.
either. Obviously, it's not for the same reasons. I think that this is just something personal and intimate that she just wants to keep for her.
Well, she does. Okay, if she was
She
to
also
tell
doesn't really
Dawson-
have anyone to tell.
No.
Yeah.
If she was to tell Dawson or Pacey, that moment would then be changed. Her
Yeah.
view of it, their interpretation, their
I think she
comments and
just-
commentary.
Wanted it for herself.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
do. And I really kind of love that for her, even
Yeah.
though it does also make me sad.
And Katie Holmes, this being her first kiss,
I know.
I relate to that. So my first kiss was also for a play, and I was
Oh,
also
gosh.
I was 18 though.
Oh my.
And I don't count that as my first real kiss because
Sure.
there wasn't any emotion. But I mean, that's always going to be a memory of what your physical first
Right.
kiss is.
Well,
But
and it's a reminder too that we talked about how young
But it's a
they
cute
were and how
one.
inexperienced they
Yeah,
were as
yeah.
actors. Dawson's attempt to film their first kiss leaves Jen justifiably pissed off.
Here comes Jen Lindley. She's mad as hell and she's not going to take it anymore.
Dawson tries to justify himself by explaining that he just wanted to capture a perfect moment. Although he insists that his intentions were honorable, Dawson admits that he can be excessively eager at times. Jen becomes anxious as she realizes that Dawson has hyped up their kiss so much that she now worries that she won't meet his expectation. So this is where I think we should talk about whether or not Dawson knew the camera was on.
Yes. And
Hot
I've got
take.
lots. Ooh.
Hot take. Yes or no? Did he know it was on? First, let's just do a quick one. Yes or no? Okay, I'll tell you
I
mine.
don't know. You say no.
Yes, he knew it was on.
Oh, you say yes?
He knew it was on.
You knew it was on?
Wouldn't you, the first thing is say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was still on.
Exactly.
He implicitly admits it.
Yes, you're right. I will say yes as well. I
No,
don't want
wanna
it
try,
to be.
I know we said we want to try to give Dawson space.
This is also an instance where he could have lied, but his honesty, which I guess in this instance is good that he's being honest about it, but he could have
Yeah.
easily been like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was still on.
Mhm.
And he doesn't. He owns
Yeah,
up to
yeah,
it.
he does
So
own up to it. So we'll give that part to it.
we'll
Way to
give
go,
it that
Dawson. I'm gonna not think about the fact that you now have this on tape
Yeah, that we
and what
weren't
you're
trying
going
to be
do with it in
we
your
weren't
gross,
going to be
disgusting-
creepy and a little voyeuristic in our prospects
in your
of
gross,
like,
disgusting bed that you are no longer going to need. Katie Couric, because you now have this.
oh gosh, don't make me think of that. I do not
Oh,
need to.
I know you don't like thinking about
The-
Dawson's penis, but sometimes
I really
we have
don't.
to.
Or the fact that like he does have all of this footage
It's
of
so gross.
Jen.
It's so
He
gross.
has tons of footage of Jen that he
And
can
we
bring
see
up
him
at any
watching
time.
and rewatching it later.
Oh my gosh! There's too many images. Like the amount of thoughts of penis in my mind are
Okay.
too much.
Yeah,
Out.
we gotta
We're
move on
done.
from that.
We're done. Okay.
So Jen says,
Oh.
I mean, why can't you just let this moment exist? Which, again, Joey told you in the cold open, Dawson, that this was not going to work.
Yeah. The thing that kills me is he says, I feel like if you don't kiss me, I will burst. He puts it on her. If you don't do this, I am going to explode.
I actually like the rest of what he says. He
Mhm.
talks about that he loves the way she scares him and it makes him nervous and he does something stupid. And that whole rambling thing is very authentic. It's very
It's
teenage.
endearing.
But then he has to end it with, all I want to do is kiss you. And I'm afraid that if I don't kiss you soon, I'm going to explode. And
Yeah.
that's the point that I'm like, fuck you, Dawson. The rest
Yes.
of this was actually very sweet and could make me say, I understand you're just a scared teenager and you don't understand how to handle your hormones. But when he says that, like you said, he's putting it on her. If you don't do this, I'm going to be uncomfortable and unhappy.
Especially after she's expressed her feelings regarding the kiss, that
Yep.
I can't do that yet. I'm not ready. Again,
He
it's
didn't
all
hear
about
her.
him. No,
He
he
did
did not
not
listen to
Hear
her. He was too
And-
busy looking at her lips, apparently.
So this is one of the first times we hear Dawson talk about his intentions
Mm-hmm.
and what his intentions were versus what really happened.
Right.
Not the last time we're going to hear Dawson try to
No.
excuse shitty behavior by saying, well, that's not what I intended.
Do you think his intention was to be, in his mind, romantic, but intentions only go so far? I do think they factor in, they shouldn't be dismissed, but the actions of the consequences, the weight of those are heavier than what he intended.
I think that this is coming from a place of insecurity. I
Mhm.
think that he does not trust himself when he's like, I didn't know what else, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. I think that he is just very insecure and he does not trust himself that he alone is enough for
Yeah.
Jen to want him.
He keeps thinking by her not kissing me means she doesn't like me.
Yeah.
It is the only next step for him to go to. There
Which
is
I
no
understand though, because again, we talked in the last episode that if you're going to say, what's the difference between his relationship with Joey and his relationship with Jen? It is, I mean, that's how we cross the barrier, usually from friendship into something else, is usually with some sort of physical thing. So
Yeah.
I get why he thinks that.
But it would have been nice of like, then let's hold hands, put his arm around her, like showing other kinds of ways of
They already
initiating
held
intimacy that aren't
hands.
kissing.
But I think that for a teenager, I think it's
Yeah, I know.
authentic that you can, I mean, he's not
True.
saying let's fuck. Look, Dawson's perspective and how much he wants sex and what he thinks about sex is going to shift drastically as we move forward.
Mhm.
But right here, I think he's just saying, I just want to kiss you.
Yeah.
And
He
I think
doesn't
that's
see
what-
how
I
big
think that's-
deal either.
Yeah. And part of that is because she has said some things, but she hasn't really truly shared why this is such a big deal to her.
No.
And so
And he's
I'm gonna give him
terrible
a
at
little
listening.
space. Yeah, I'm gonna give him a little space.
I see you. I hear you. We'll give him space. The line from Jen, this text of this line is so telling that she's talking about, you've built this kiss to be such a big deal. What if it ends up being a disappointment? I think she's just thinking about herself. You've put me on this pedestal.
Yep.
When you figure out who I am, you're going to be disappointed.
Yep, absolutely.
She is so afraid that he finds out the truth.
Absolutely.
It's over.
Completely agree. 100%.
And the kiss is almost a metaphor for that. Once that kiss happens, once she lets him in closer,
Mhm.
everything is going to fall and she knows it.
So like Joey being afraid to let Anderson in further, that once he gets to know her, he's going to be
Mhm.
disappointed in who she really is.
Yeah.
I think it's like that with Jen too. I think we actually see a similarity here.
Yeah, I agree. That's what hurts me for Jen. She's stuck in a hard place. If she lets him kiss her, they now move on to the next step, and she knows inevitably she has to share more about her that she's not ready to share. And she knows he does not come from a place that he can understand it.
And obviously
think
we're going to see
that's-
that in the next episode.
I think she desperately hopes he will, because but she doesn't know Dawson as well as we do. So nope. All right, let's go on. As Joey heads home with Bessie and Bodhi, she realizes that her lie was not as convincing as she had hoped, and she drops Anderson's phone number out the window like a litterer. I'm just kidding. You don't need to have that.
No,
it's funny that she
my
litters.
note would seriously, we learn a very important characteristic of Joey Potter, and the fact is she's a fucking litterer.
How offended. You
How
know what?
Dare she? She could have put it in her pocket and thrown it away when she got
know.
out. The fucking environment, Josephine. Think of the children. They are our future.
Such a 90s thing.
I know. So can you tell I'm Gen X?
The thing that I love about this scene is, Bessie was giving Joey crap earlier. She's late from her date to get to work. Bessie's like, you got to be a team player. And then there's this interaction. She's not picking up the plate. And then that Bodhi and Bessie had a conversation. That Bodhi's like, there was a boy I think that's why she was late.
Oh, yeah.
And so the shift from the way that Bessie talked in this whole episode to how
Mhm.
she interacts when Joey gets in that car is, like, hey,
And you see that
I know what's
family
going on.
dynamic, and you
Yes.
see Joey and Bodhi kind of team up a lot. It's
Yeah.
not the only time we see through the series Joey and Bodhi kind of being on this team together. He really is a father figure for her in so many ways and so supportive of her, and how that dynamic balances out, because we've talked about the complexities of the relationship for Bessie as parent/sister. So Bodhi's able to kind of step in and be a mediator.
Yeah, you just said what I was pretty much going to say. It's just that Bessie has so many hats to wear
Yeah.
that Bodhi helps bring perspective
Yeah.
and balancing out those
Yeah.
hats that Bessie has to wear. And
Yeah.
I think he's like, okay, Bessie, take a breath. You're
out.
getting worked up about this. And Bessie is very high intense energy, and Bodhi is so calming that they have
Chill.
this good balancing effect. And it's another reason it's like, I just want more of them so much.
I know. They're so
And
cute.
Bodhi is so cute. I just find he's so handsome, and he's so
wonderful.
kind, and we deserve more Bodhi.
Hashtag justice for Bodhi.
All right. But I do think it's sad she throws it out, and she knew in that moment that he knew.
Mm-hmm. But she
that
doesn't
she
have the
was lying.
security in herself, because she knew he knew
Yeah.
and still gave her the phone number, but she just can't take that step. She's scared.
No.
She's scared and does not have the self-confidence, which I understand. This is her first step into being this Joey, right?
Mhm.
And it's just too much.
Yeah.
Ugh. Back at the ruins, Dawson confesses to Jen that he tends to act foolishly around her. They are both quick to hide when they hear a car approach. And despite the unromantic setting, Jen and Dawson draw closer to each other as they share their first kiss.
I actually do like this moment. Like, I hate that it comes from this, like, after this voyeuristic weirdness and the pressure to kiss. I don't love
But
that.
that's what I think is great, is because this was Joey's lesson at the cold open,
Mhm.
right? Is
To just be in the
Dawson,
moment.
you can't storyboard the kiss.
Mhm.
And Joey got her kiss without storyboarding it, with actually rejecting the storyboard moment. And despite all of Dawson's efforts, what happens is in this gross thing, and she's saying it smells and all that stuff. And I will say, give Michelle Williams the fucking Oscar, the Emmy, the whatever, for making me believe that she wants to fucking kiss Dawson Leary.
Yeah.
The way she trails her finger along his face and down his chest is fucking hot.
Yeah. It's cute. And
You're like, yeah.
no, it is sweet. I actually like that there is a difference between his first kiss and Joey's, the style of kissing too. And the reason I like this is Jen's kiss with Dawson feels so much more innocent, of these like
Yeah.
little kisses of like tentative, are we kissing? We're almost there. These small kisses. There's no
Yeah.
tongue. So for Jen, it makes me so happy that she has such an innocent kiss.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Dawson gets his kiss and he just lives in the moment and sees that it can be lovely. And I think that for both of them, it was a good moment. And
Yes.
it was very different from the kiss between Joey and Anderson, which actually, as we said, had almost more intimacy for them barely knowing each other. There was
Yeah.
physical, like the hair, they're just more in each other's space, where Jen and Dawson, it was like the touches were so light. There was such a like tenderness of like, I know we've been thinking of this in anticipation, and I feel like it brings up
the longing. The way
Yes.
she trails her finger down
Yes.
and they slowly inch towards each other is so authentic to
Yeah.
moving to that next space.
Yeah. It felt like a real first kiss.
It really did. And
Mhm.
I wish that I could believe that this made Dawson learn his lesson, that he cannot script his life, and that if he just went with life, things would probably still work out okay. But I've seen this fucking show, and I know he's not going to learn that goddamn lesson. Meanwhile, Dawson's trusty camera catches more than he or any of us anticipated. The episode closes with a suggestive shot of Pacey and Tamara lying in the grass, implying that they just had sex. As Pacey holds Tamara close, she appears to be lost in a sea of thoughts, pondering the consequences of her criminal.
Sorry.
Olivia wrote this, and I just pondering the consequences of her criminal activity that's being paraded around as a forbidden romance. Did I say that in a good Olivia voice?
I cannot write these summaries making anything sound romantic between them.
No,
It
I
is
don't
criminal.
sound romantic. We talked about the theme tune. We talked about music in this show and how this is one of the first shows that used popular music to enhance and manufacture emotion. And this song, Meredith Brooks, What Would Happen? It is such a great song, and they're fucking making out against the tree. The show did a really good job of making it seem extremely sexy.
Mhm.
I want to just kind of skip past all of it and say, what is the face when they're laying there and we see Pacey so heartbreaking? He is so happy. He's so tender. He's so vulnerable. What do you think Tamara is actually feeling right here? Do
All
you?
I can hope is regret. That is all I can hope. I don't know what she's thinking because it is really hard to get into her mind for all of this. And
Is it really hard to get into the mind of a pedophile?
yeah, for me it is, at least. I would
I mean, I would hope for all of us.
You would think. My eye is always drawn to Pacey because that's who I care about. And his tenderness and romantic of him, like trying to kiss her shoulder, and he just wants to hold her. And she is so distant and despondent from him in that moment.
Dissociating.
Yes, that connection's not there. You know, she's turned away. He's trying to make a connection. He's trying to make it more. And she's just like, what have I done? And I don't know if that is what she's actually thinking. It's what I hope she's thinking. I hope she regrets it. And I hope she's thinking I fucked up. But we know she doesn't because she continues it. So I don't know. I
don't know how to explain this one. So I'm going to come at this from a different way. What do we think the writers wanted us to think she was thinking? Because we know the writers wanted us to believe that this is a real relationship. I think that from the writer's point of view, what we are supposed to see is fear. Because she knows that this is wrong. We know she knows it's wrong.
Yeah.
But she can't stop herself because their love is too strong. And that's disgusting. And we know it's disgusting, but I'm talking about
But that's what the show wanted.
What the show, we've talked about how many times what the show was trying to sell us. I think that that's what the show was trying to sell us. We are supposed to see an internal struggle in her between what she knows is technically right and what her feelings are telling her. That's what I think they wanted us to see.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that because it's horrifying.
Yeah. I don't want to see it either. After every time Pacey has sex, it is really painful to me. You have this moment where he's wanting this connection with this woman. He had sex way faster than he should have had with a woman who is much older and took advantage of him. And then because he rushed quickly into sex with Tamara, and so with Andy, he rushes into it and then he regrets it and feels like shit about it. And he feels like he pressured her into it and took advantage of her because he just did what was done to him. Like, this is how we escalate the relationship, and then shit. Right. And then you have Joey where he waits a long time to have sex with her. And then the morning after, That scene where he has his arm around her and she's turned away, they're almost in the same position as Tamara and Pacey are, where he's around her, she's turned to him, and when she looks back at him and there's that regret on her face, or that feeling of regret. Poor fucking Pacey. His relationship with sex and people wanting him and his own feelings of himself and who he has it with and their reactions to it. It's a convoluted mess.
As you
It
said,
breaks my heart.
as you said, his experience with Tamara affects what happens with Andy.
Yeah.
It affects what happens with Joey. I said it. That moment on the dock changed his life. And we see it reverberate through the entire rest of the series.
Yeah. He already has these massive insecurities and the way he views himself, these kind of reactions and situations clouding his past and all of these new experiences. They cannot help but just add to those insecurities.
Yeah. It's very painful. It's just very painful. And we hate it and we have to talk about it.
And that's how we end this episode, is in this sense of like regret and loss. To me, that's what it is. It's regret and loss, a loss of innocence, a loss of like his potential to see that he has something to offer that isn't just this sexual thing.
Think about the experiences Joey and Dawson had in this.
Yes.
Where they both got to experience these really great first kisses. Yeah. These really sweet, innocent, great kisses. And then here's Pacey's experience in this episode and how separate he is from them.
And lonely and sad. It has a sadness to it. You don't go away going, yay, Pacey just scored. I don't know. Like, even the writers, they don't, even with what they're trying to sell, there is a sadness.
Absolutely.
And these other kids got to have joy and a kiss. And this episode is called A Prelude to a Kiss, or Kiss. And the whole focus is that, but Pacey's first kiss was this abrupt kiss in episode 1, and he has sex. It goes straight from kiss to sex within a couple weeks. The relationship you create with sexuality off of your first experience. Oh gosh.
I wonder if he almost felt pressure to have sex with her because of the scene in the classroom.
Yeah.
When she escalated it so quickly, and I don't think he wanted anything more than a kiss there, but I think that maybe that gave him the idea that that was the expectation. Yes. And I almost wonder if I think that he felt that there was pressure to have sex with her in order to continue this and to keep her interested in him.
I think, oh gosh, great. Yep. To keep her interested. He wants to lock his place. Like, think of me. I want to be the one. And if he doesn't do this, he already knows Mr. Gold's competition. He just saw it. She's going to move on without him. He wants her. And if he doesn't give this to her, if this isn't where it escalates to where she's hinted it was already going to go, then she's going to lose interest and move on.
And in his mind, someone older like that is going to have the expectation of sex, whereas a 15 or 16-year-old probably wouldn't. I think he felt pressure there. And I think that really messes with him.
He never verbally says it, but I think he knows deep down this whole situation was fucked up because he's so afraid of recreating it for someone else. He's so afraid of ruining their first experiences and hurting their relationships.
Yes.
And because his was ruined. What a way to end an episode.
Okay. I know.
So
I wish we could end an episode not with fucking Pacey and Tamara. Like, can we end on a good note? Maybe.
No, let's just pretend
we've only got Dawson 2 more episodes of those.
I know.
So.
Dawson and Jen's cute first kiss was very sweet. So
Joey got a great kiss.
Yes.
Anderson was lovely. And I'm happy for Joey for getting to have her own life, her own storyline in this episode that was in no way scripted by Dawson. And I think that was really beautiful for her.
What I really liked about this episode too was they had the friend moments. They showed their friendship, but they still had these separate journeys, but they checked in with each other.
Like I said at the beginning, I really love this episode for so many reasons, and there's some icky stuff. So I'm just going to leave this with the happy ones because I just cannot think about the other ones anymore.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we just run right into our Pacey Witter punishment watch? Victoria, how many pew-pews do we have this week?
We had 2 pew-pews this week.
How much? How much?
The first is when Tamara is quizzing Pacey and is surprised that he is actually able to answer correctly. The second is when Pacey rolls up in the very necessary prop wheelchair and Nellie calls him Dawson's loser friend. Fuck off, Nellie.
Very good. All right. So now we're on the question of the week. And I'm going to put this as 2. You can choose which one you want to answer. Okay, Victoria. But for our listeners, I feel like I want to give the option, which story they want to share. So
sounds good.
The 2 questions are, what was your first kiss? Or what was your first date?
I have no idea what my first date was or who it was with or when it was, but I do remember my first kiss. It was actually with the boy who I danced with that I talked about in the last episode that I danced with at my first dance. And I think it was around the same time period. A whole big group of us, guys and girls, were going back to my friend's house, and we were kind of walking in between 2 houses, and everyone else went ahead of us. And we kind of slowed down, and he kind of, I don't know, he said something to me. And I remember I was kind of standing against the house, and he just kind of stepped towards me and he said, "Can I kiss you?" And I said,
Aww.
yes. And it was just a nice, short, sweet kiss. But this was in, oh my God, 1989, probably.
Oh my gosh.
90. And he asked for consent. And
amazing.
Yeah. So it was just a very nice, sweet kiss. He was, I think we dated like in 7th grade and probably a little bit on and off throughout high school. But yes, just a very nice, sweet kiss.
That is really cute. That's cute. I like that.
It is cute. But so Olivia, throwing the ball right back to you. What was either your first kiss or your first date?
Let's see. My I don't know which one I want to answer. All right. Well, so for my first date, that one was a little bit of a mess. It was like a double date. So I'd actually rather talk about my first kiss. I know I mentioned in the episode that my first kiss was technically on stage, or, like in practice and then stage, but I don't really count that as my first kiss. I count my first kiss as the first person I felt like we had that connection and there was an actual, like we were both there. So, but my first kiss was with my first boyfriend, which I was older when it happened. I didn't start dating until I was older. And it was very similar in the sense we were like at a park, and I think he said, "I really want to kiss you right now." And I was like panicking. I probably said something self-deprecating because that sounds about right.
No, not you.
And I was like, I don't even know how to kiss. I probably panicked.
I should have practiced on my hand.
Exactly. Why did I practice on my hand like Victoria? But so I probably said something, and I don't remember, but he pretty much, like asked me if he could kiss me, and I was like, yeah, I'd like that. And so he kissed me, and it sounds really cheesy and corny saying it out loud, but in the moment it was so sweet and endearing. Like he like pulled me in, he kissed me, and he like had this huge smile on his face. And then he like, we're in a park at night, it's like 10 at night, and he does a cartwheel, just so excited. And it sounds so cheesy, but in the moment it really was like, it was
horrible.
For me, it was like, that was my first kiss, it was my first boyfriend, and we were together for a really long time. So he was very sweet.
Awesome. Let's go on to our fan fiction corner, which has been a big hit.
Woohoo! Yay for reading fan fiction.
Yeah.
Normalize it.
Head on over to Archive of Our Own and search for Dawson's Creek fanfic.
Yep.
Or wait for Olivia's recommendation that she's
Yes,
about to
I mean,
give
I'm
you
giving
seconds.
one every week. So read a story a week. Okay, so for Fanfiction Corner, we received our first recommendations for Fanfiction Corner, which just made me so happy. It's so nice that everyone's taking the time to look over that and has been so excited about fan fiction. And my first recommendation I received was for the exact same story that we shared last week. So I do want to give a shout out though to, we're going to do her username, Myrtle Urkel. She reached out and was like, you should do Just a Kiss. And I was like, we already recorded that, but I want to shout out. Thank you so much for the recommendation, and
Yes.
great minds think alike. So, but today I am going to go off a different recommendation for our story of the week.
And who recommended this?
So this was submitted by Cheeky Hobbit. She is like amazing fan fiction author that we all love.
And I will say just an amazing Dawson's Creek fandom person. If you're the Dawson's Creek fandom, you probably already know who Cheeky Hobbit is.
Yeah, she's amazing. She loves Joey. We love her for loving Joey. She's so passionate about it. And actually, she's opened my eyes to love Joey more. I will be honest, like based on her fan fictions and talking with her, she has opened my heart more to Joey over the last couple years that I've been reading her stuff and interacting.
She's definitely a Joey stan. She pointed out that in our Discord server for the podcast, you could choose a role of a character to identify with. And everybody in our Discord so far has chosen Pacey, except for Cheeky Hobbit, who's Joey.
I mean,
she pointed it out and we were all like, yeah, we knew you were going to be Joey.
She's great. She's great. So not all episodes have a story that breaks off of them. My goal is whatever story I pick will either happen from that point or before it, or like an alternate universe right around that same time is what I kind of decided we're going to do, since there's not a story for each episode. And so the recommendation this week is called Easy as Pie.
Ooh, like cherry pie?
Yes. Or apple pie.
Or apple pie, yeah.
The author is Annie Polly, and it was written back in 2007. So this is an older fanfic. It is a past AU, meaning it starts before the pilot episode.
Oh, okay.
So the opening scene is before they're filming the sea monster scene. So it's stuff we haven't seen before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the rating, as I mentioned last week, the ratings are chosen by the authors. This is a mature or R rating, but I'm going to throw in my opinion that I think it's closer to an NC-17. So
it is a cherry pie, apple pie situation.
Pie is mentioned.
Okay. Pie is mentioned.
So this is a one shot. It's about 13,500 words. So like a good size, but a nice, easy read. And the summary is, Pacey goes to pick up a reluctant Joey to start filming the sea creature movie for Dawson after she refuses due to the written kiss with Pacey. The hormones between the two quote unquote enemies may lead them to discover something deeper for each other. Pacey and Joey gain more than they expected while discussing their parts for Dawson's upcoming movie and The New Girl in Town.
Ooh,
so
sexy.
Now I asked Cheeky Hobbit, I was like, why this story? And she said that she felt it was really organic and that it was fun to see these two teenagers swept up in their chemistry. Plus, there's a funny surprise moment for Dawson at the end that makes her laugh every time. So
Love it.
So here's the thing about the Pacey Joey fan fiction. Quite a few stories will either villainize Dawson a lot, or they really make him the extreme on being naive or kind of the punchline.
They're not kind to Dawson usually.
No, there are kind Dawson ones. There's a couple stories, and I know I'm going to share a couple of them where it's like Dawson is a good supportive friend.
Yes.
So they do exist, but they are minimal.
Largely in the P. Joe fanfic world,
yes,
Dawson is the devil.
Yes. So
just beware of that.
and if you are out there, Dawson fans, and you have a good Dawson fan fiction story, send it our way, because there's not a lot of Dawson Joey stories out there. And to be honest, I haven't really read them. So I would love a recommendation.
And we want to promote those because obviously we are P.J. stands, but we do want to try to give Dawson as much space.
Well, because Dawson's not a terrible person.
No, he's not a monster. He's a flawed individual.
Yes. And he deserves to have good stories too. So, and I'm sure they're out there, but if whoever loves Dawson, we want you to tell us what stories you love about Dawson. So that's it. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. So I think that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you as always so much for joining us. We would love it if you would leave us an eloquent review wherever you get your podcast. It can help other people find the podcast and continue to expand the Dawson's Creek community, and also help us justify why we spend more time on this podcast than on our actual jobs, because I think that's actually true.
Yeah, it's getting there.
It's getting there. Also, please do follow us on social media. I know so many of you already do. But if you don't, hop on and join some of those discussions for more Dawson's Creek content. You can also join our Discord. You can find all the links to those on our link tree, which is in the episode description. Also, we want to give a shout out again to the Discord server where Olivia and I met, Heidi's Creek Discord. It is a general Dawson's Creek Discord server where ours is just for the podcast. There's amazing content there. Such a supportive, amazing community. If you would like to join it, send us an email at iremembereverythingpod@gmail.com and we will send you an email. So,
and that is also the email you can send recommendations to for fan fiction.
Yes, for Olivia and her fan fiction. All right, so I think that is it, hun. Thank you all again for listening, and until next time, mwah, love you.
Love you too.